Question 1. Scenario type. Mr. Thompson owns a small business in Miami, Florida, and has recently suffered damage to his commercial property due to a severe hurricane. His insurance policy covers wind damage but excludes flood damage. Which of the following statements regarding Mr. Thompson's insurance coverage is correct? A. The insurance policy will cover all damages since hurricanes are typically covered under property insurance. B. Mr. Thompson's policy will cover the wind damage but not the flood damage. C. Mr. Thompson's policy will cover the flood damage but not the wind damage. D. The insurance policy will not cover any damages because hurricanes are considered acts of God. Answer. B. Mr. Thompson's policy will cover the wind damage but not the flood damage. Explanation. In Florida, like many coastal states prone to hurricanes, standard property insurance policies often cover wind damage but typically exclude flood damage. This aligns with the principle that insurers specify perils they cover and those they exclude. According to Florida state regulations, flood insurance is typically separate and requires a separate policy or endorsement due to the specific risks associated with flooding in coastal areas. Therefore, option B is correct because it accurately reflects the coverage Mr. Thompson can expect under his policy, distinguishing between wind and flood damage as per the policy terms. Question 2. Coverage and exclusions. In Florida, which of the following is generally true regarding liability coverage in a standard homeowner's insurance policy? A. Liability coverage includes intentional acts of the insured. B. Liability coverage is limited to bodily injury but excludes property damage. C. Liability coverage extends to all family members, including those not residing with the insured. D. Liability coverage typically excludes business-related liabilities. Answer. D. Liability coverage typically excludes business-related liabilities. Explanation. Under Florida insurance regulations, homeowners' insurance policies typically exclude business-related liabilities from their coverage. This exclusion is based on the understanding that homeowners' insurance is intended for personal, non-commercial activities and risks. Business liabilities require separate insurance coverage tailored to the specific risks and activities involved, which is not provided by standard homeowners policies. Therefore, option D is correct as it reflects the usual exclusion of business-related liabilities under homeowners insurance policies in Florida. Question 3. Workers' compensation insurance. In Florida, which of the following statements best describes an employer's obligation regarding workers' compensation insurance? A. Employers must provide workers' compensation insurance only if their employees work full-time. B. Employers are not required to provide workers' compensation insurance if they have fewer than 5 employees. C. Employers must purchase workers' compensation insurance regardless of the number of employees or hours worked. D. Employers can opt out of providing workers' compensation insurance if employees sign a waiver. Answer. C. Employers must purchase workers' compensation insurance regardless of the number of employees or hours worked. Explanation. Florida state law mandates that all employers in the construction industry and those with 4 or more employees must provide workers' compensation insurance for their employees, regardless of whether they work full-time or part-time. This requirement ensures that workers injured on the job receive medical care and compensation for lost wages without having to prove fault, aligning with the state's commitment to workplace safety and employee protection. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately reflects Florida's workers' compensation insurance requirements. Question 4. Policy provisions and endorsements. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding insurance policy endorsements is correct? A. Endorsements are used solely to increase the insurance premium and are not legally binding. B. Endorsements can modify or add coverage to an insurance policy and become part of the legal contract. C. Endorsements are only applicable to casualty insurance policies, not property insurance policies. D. Endorsements are only valid if signed by the insured and the insurance agent, but not by the insurer. Answer. B. Endorsements can modify or add coverage to an insurance policy and become part of the legal contract. Explanation. In Florida, insurance policy endorsements are amendments or attachments that modify the terms of the original insurance policy. They can either restrict or expand coverage based on the insured's needs and are legally binding once endorsed by the insurer. This flexibility allows policyholders to customize their coverage without having to purchase an entirely new policy, aligning with the state's regulatory framework that prioritizes consumer choice and policy flexibility. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and legal implications of insurance policy endorsements in Florida. Question 5. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting an insurance policy in Florida, which of the following factors is typically not considered by insurers? A. Applicant's credit history and financial stability. B. Previous insurance claims history of the applicant. C. Age, gender, and marital status of the applicant. D. Neighborhood crime rate in building construction materials. Answer: C. Age, gender, and marital status of the applicant. Explanation: in Florida, underwriting considers various risk factors to assess the likelihood of claims and determine appropriate premiums. Factors such as credit history, claims history, property characteristics, and location, including crime rates and building materials, are typically evaluated. However, age, gender, and marital status are generally not considered in underwriting decisions due to legal and ethical guidelines prohibiting discrimination based on these personal attributes. Insurers focus on objective risk factors that directly impact the likelihood of loss, ensuring fair and consistent underwriting practices in accordance with Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a factor that is typically not considered in insurance underwriting in Florida. Question 6. Insurance claims. In Florida, which of the following is a key responsibility of insurance companies during the claims handling process? A. Offering a lump sum settlement to expedite claims processing. B. Conducting a thorough investigation to determine coverage and liability. C. Denying claims without providing a reason or explanation to the insured. D. Requiring insureds to repair damages before processing the claim payment. Answer: B. Conducting a thorough investigation to determine coverage and liability. Explanation: in Florida, insurance companies are obligated to conduct a fair and thorough investigation of claims to determine the extent of coverage and liability. This process ensures that insureds receive appropriate compensation for covered losses while preventing fraud and misuse of insurance resources. Denying claims without justification or compelling insureds to make repairs before processing payments would violate Florida's regulations on fair claims handling practices, which emphasize transparency, promptness, and fairness in resolving insurance claims. Therefore, option B is correct as it reflects the insurer's responsibility to conduct a comprehensive investigation during the claims handling process in Florida. Question 7. Coverage and exclusions. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding flood insurance coverage is correct? A. Flood insurance is automatically included in all homeowners insurance policies. B. Flood insurance coverage is only available through federal government programs like FEMA. C. Flood damage is covered under standard homeowners insurance policies without additional endorsements. D. Flood insurance coverage is optional for homeowners living in low-risk flood zones. Answer: B. Flood insurance coverage is only available through federal government programs like FEMA. Explanation: in Florida, like many coastal states prone to flooding, flood insurance is not typically covered under standard homeowners insurance policies. Instead, it must be purchased separately through federal government programs such as the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, administered by FEMA. This coverage is crucial for homeowners in flood-prone areas to protect against losses specifically caused by flooding, which is not covered under standard homeowners policies due to its high-risk nature. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately reflects the availability and source of flood insurance coverage in Florida. Question 8. Liability and legal concepts. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following best describes the concept of comparative negligence in liability insurance? A. It absolves the insured from all liability if the claimant is found partially at fault for an accident. B. It allows the insured to sue the claimant for damages exceeding the policy limits. C. It apportions damages based on each party's degree of fault in causing an accident. D. It requires the insured to pay all damages regardless of fault attribution. Answer: C. It apportions damages based on each party's degree of fault in causing an accident. Explanation: comparative negligence is a legal principle applied in liability insurance claims in Florida and many other states. It allows damages to be apportioned based on each party's percentage of fault for an accident. This means that even if the claimant is partially at fault, they may still recover damages, though the amount they receive would be reduced by their percentage of fault. This principle promotes fairness and equitable distribution of liability in accidents, aligning with Florida's legal framework for handling liability claims. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the concept of comparative negligence in liability insurance under Florida state regulations. Question 9. Policy interpretation and analysis. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding insurance policy interpretation is correct? A. Ambiguous terms in an insurance policy are always interpreted in favor of the insured. B. Policy exclusions take precedence over insuring agreements in case of conflicting terms. C. Insurers have the discretion to modify policy terms without notifying the insured. D. Declarations pages are not considered part of the insurance contract and are non-binding. Answer: B. Policy exclusions take precedence over insuring agreements in case of conflicting terms. Explanation: in Florida, as in most states, policy exclusions typically take precedence over insuring agreements in insurance policy interpretation. This principle ensures that if there is a conflict between what is covered under the insuring agreements and what is excluded under policy exclusions, the exclusions prevail. This interpretation is guided by the principle that insurance policies are contracts with specific terms and conditions, and exclusions define the limits of coverage provided by the insurer. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately reflects the hierarchical relationship between policy exclusions and insuring agreements in insurance policy interpretation under Florida state regulations. Question 10. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding representations and warranties in insurance contracts is correct? A. Representations are statements made by the insured that are guaranteed to be true, while warranties are promises made by the insurer. B. Representations are statements made by the insurer that must be true for the policy to be valid, while warranties are statements made by the insured. C. Representations and warranties have no legal significance in insurance contracts under Florida law. D. Representations and warranties are interchangeable terms used to describe the terms and conditions of an insurance policy. Answer: A. Representations are statements made by the insured that are guaranteed to be true, while warranties are promises made by the insurer. Explanation: in Florida, representations in insurance contracts are factual statements made by the insured that are considered guaranteed to be true. They are crucial in the underwriting process as they influence the insurer's decision to issue a policy. Warranties, on the other hand, are specific promises made by the insurer about the conditions or conduct that must be upheld for the policy to remain valid. Understanding these distinctions is important for both insurers and insureds to ensure clarity and compliance with the terms of the insurance contract under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option A is correct as it accurately describes the roles and definitions of representations and warranties in insurance contracts. Question 11. Insurance underwriting. In Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance? A. Proximity to healthcare facilities and emergency services. B. Zoning regulations and building codes. C. Number of recreational facilities nearby. D. Availability of public transportation. Answer: B. Zoning regulations and building codes. Explanation: when underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as zoning regulations and building codes to assess the risk associated with the property. Zoning regulations dictate how the property can be used and can affect its susceptibility to certain risks, such as environmental hazards or changes in property use. Building codes ensure that structures are constructed to specific safety standards, reducing the risk of property damage or loss. These factors are crucial in determining insurance premiums and coverage terms, aligning with Florida's regulatory framework that emphasizes risk assessment and mitigation in commercial property insurance underwriting. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 12. Insurance claims. In Florida, which of the following statements best describes the purpose of subrogation in insurance claims? A. Subrogation allows insurers to deny coverage for certain claims. B. Subrogation enables insurers to recover costs from responsible third parties after settling a claim. C. Subrogation requires insureds to pay a deductible before their claims are processed. D. Subrogation exempts insurers from liability for claims related to natural disasters. Answer: B. Subrogation enables insurers to recover costs from responsible third parties after settling a claim. Explanation: Subrogation is a legal principle that allows insurers, after paying a claim, to pursue the responsible party or parties for recovery of the amount paid. This process helps insurers reduce the losses and costs associated with claims payments by seeking reimbursement from parties legally liable for the loss or damage. In Florida, subrogation rights are typically included in insurance contracts and allow insurers to act on behalf of the insured to recover funds related to the claim, ensuring fair distribution of costs and liabilities among parties involved. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of subrogation in insurance claims under Florida state regulations. Question 13. Policy provisions and endorsements. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding insurance policy endorsements is correct? A. Endorsements cannot modify coverage once the insurance policy is issued. B. Endorsements are always included in the base premium of the insurance policy. C. Endorsements must be approved by the insured before they become effective. D. Endorsements can amend or add coverage to an insurance policy after it is issued. Answer: D. Endorsements can amend or add coverage to an insurance policy after it is issued. Explanation: In Florida, insurance policy endorsements are amendments or additions to the original insurance policy that can modify or add coverage based on the insured's needs. These endorsements can be requested by the insured or required by the insurer to tailor the policy to specific risks or circumstances. Endorsements become part of the legal contract once approved by the insurer and are used to adjust coverage without issuing a completely new policy. Therefore, option D is correct as it accurately describes the function and purpose of insurance policy endorsements under Florida state regulations. Question 14. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting a commercial property insurance policy in Florida, which of the following factors is typically not considered by insurers? A. Building occupancy and use. B. Safety and security measures in place. C. Financial stability and credit history of the insured. D. Proximity to recreational facilities. Answer: D. Proximity to recreational facilities. Explanation: In Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as building occupancy, safety measures, and the financial stability of the insured when underwriting commercial property insurance policies. These factors help insurers assess the risk associated with insuring the property and determine appropriate premiums and coverage terms. However, proximity to recreational facilities is generally not a factor considered in underwriting decisions unless it directly impacts the property's risk profile, such as increasing exposure to potential hazards or liabilities. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a factor that is typically not considered during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 15. Insurance claims in Florida. Which of the following is a key responsibility of insurance adjusters during the claims handling process? A. Denying claims based on preliminary assessments without further investigation. B. Advocating for the insured to maximize claim payouts. C. Providing timely and accurate information to the insured about their claim status. D. Requesting additional premiums from insureds after processing their claims. Answer: C. Providing timely and accurate information to the insured about their claim status. Explanation: In Florida, insurance adjusters are responsible for conducting thorough investigations, evaluating claims, and providing timely and accurate information to insured individuals regarding their claim status. This includes explaining coverage, the claims process, and any necessary documentation or steps required to settle the claim fairly and efficiently. Effective communication and transparency are essential to maintaining trust and ensuring compliance with Florida's regulatory requirements for fair claims handling practices. Therefore, option C is correct as it reflects a key responsibility of insurance adjusters during the claims handling process in Florida. Question 16. Insurance contracts. Under Florida law, which of the following elements is essential for the formation of a valid insurance contract? A. Written confirmation from the insured accepting the insurer's offer. B. Consideration such as the payment of premiums by the insured. C. Acknowledgement of coverage by a third-party witness. D. Completion of a mandatory insurance application form. Answer: B. Consideration such as the payment of premiums by the insured. Explanation: in Florida, as in most states, consideration is a fundamental element required for the formation of a valid insurance contract. Consideration refers to something of value exchanged between the parties to a contract, such as the payment of premiums by the insured in exchange for coverage provided by the insurer. This mutual exchange forms the basis of the contractual relationship, demonstrating each party's commitment and intention to be bound by the terms of the insurance agreement. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately identifies consideration as an essential element in the formation of a valid insurance contract under Florida state regulations. Question 17. Workers' compensation insurance. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding workers' compensation insurance is correct? A. Employers can opt out of providing workers' compensation insurance by offering alternative benefits. B. Workers' compensation insurance is optional for all employers regardless of the number of employees. C. Employees must prove employer negligence to receive workers' compensation benefits. D. Employers are required to provide workers' compensation insurance for all employees, with limited exceptions. Answer: D. Employers are required to provide workers' compensation insurance for all employees, with limited exceptions. Explanation: in Florida, employers are generally required to provide workers' compensation insurance coverage for their employees, with some exceptions based on the type of industry and the number of employees. This mandatory coverage ensures that employees injured on the job receive necessary medical treatment and compensation for lost wages without having to prove employer negligence. The state's workers' compensation system aims to protect both employees and employers by providing a no-fault system for resolving workplace injuries and illnesses, aligning with Florida's regulatory framework for workplace safety and insurance coverage. Therefore, option D is correct as it accurately reflects the requirement for employers to provide workers' compensation insurance under Florida state law. Question 18. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding producer licensing requirements is correct? A. Insurance producers must renew their licenses annually without meeting continuing education requirements. B. All insurance producers in Florida are exempt from licensing requirements if they only sell policies online. C. Insurance producers must complete pre-licensing education and pass a state exam to obtain their license. D. Producer licenses issued in other states automatically transfer and are valid in Florida without additional requirements. Answer: C. Insurance producers must complete pre-licensing education and pass a state exam to obtain their license. Explanation: in Florida, insurance producers, agents, and brokers are required to complete pre-licensing education courses approved by the state and pass a licensing exam before obtaining their license. These requirements ensure that producers have the necessary knowledge and skills to effectively advise and sell insurance products to consumers in compliance with state regulations. Additionally, licensed producers must meet continuing education requirements to renew their licenses periodically, demonstrating ongoing competency in their field. This framework supports consumer protection and professionalism within the insurance industry in Florida. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the licensing requirements for insurance producers under Florida state regulations. Question 19. Coverage and exclusions. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding the value policy law is correct? A. The value policy law requires insurers to pay the full policy limit for covered losses without considering actual cash value. B. The value policy law mandates insurers to provide guaranteed replacement cost coverage for all insured properties. C. The value policy law applies only to certain types of personal property but not to commercial property. D. The value policy law allows insurers to deny claims if the insured fails to disclose the property's current market value. Answer A. The value policy law requires insurers to pay the full policy limit for covered losses without considering actual cash value. Explanation: in Florida, the value policy law stipulates if property is insured for a specific amount and is destroyed by a covered peril, the insurer must pay the full policy limit specified for that property, regardless of its actual cash value. This law ensures that policyholders receive adequate compensation to replace or repair their property up to the policy limit in the event of a total loss, providing certainty and protection against depreciation or undervaluation. Therefore, option is correct as it accurately describes the principle and application of the valued policy law under Florida state regulations. Question 20. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following best describes the purpose of liability insurance coverage? A. To protect policyholders from damage caused by intentional acts. B. To cover losses resulting from natural disasters and acts of God. C. To provide financial protection against legal claims and lawsuits. D. To reimburse policyholders for property damage caused by negligence. Answer: C. To provide financial protection against legal claims and lawsuits. Explanation: liability insurance coverage in Florida and elsewhere is designed to protect policyholders from financial losses resulting from legal claims and lawsuits brought against them for bodily injury or property damage caused to others due to their negligence or fault. This coverage helps pay for legal defense costs, settlements, and judgments up to the policy limits, thereby protecting policyholders' assets and financial stability in the event of a covered liability claim. This aligns with Florida's regulatory framework that emphasizes the importance of liability insurance in mitigating risks and providing financial security for individuals and businesses. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately reflects the purpose and function of liability insurance coverage under Florida state regulations. Question 21. Insurance industry trends and developments. In Florida, which of the following factors contributes to emerging risks in the property and casualty insurance industry? A. Increasing consumer demand for comprehensive coverage options. B. Advances in technology affecting claims processing and risk assessment. C. Reduction in state regulatory oversight and compliance requirements. D. Decreasing competition among insurance companies in the market. Answer: B. Advances in technology affecting claims processing and risk assessment. Explanation: in Florida and across the insurance industry, advances in technology such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, and digital platforms are influencing how insurers assess risks, process claims, and interact with policyholders. These technological advancements introduce new opportunities and challenges, including improved efficiency in claims handling, enhanced risk assessment capabilities, and potential cybersecurity risks. Insurers must adapt to these emerging trends to remain competitive and compliant with evolving regulatory standards in Florida and other jurisdictions. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies advances in technology as a significant factor contributing to emerging risks in the property and casualty insurance industry under Florida state regulations. Question 22. Policy interpretation and analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding insurance policy exclusions is correct? A. Exclusions are always clearly listed in the declarations page of the insurance policy. B. Exclusions limit coverage by specifying risks or perils that are not covered under the policy. C. Exclusions are optional provisions that insureds can request to add to their policies. D. Exclusions can be modified by insurers without notice to the insured. Answer: B. Exclusions limit coverage by specifying risks or perils that are not covered under the policy. Explanation: in Florida, insurance policy exclusions are provisions that specify certain risks, perils, or circumstances that are not covered under the insurance policy. These exclusions help insurers manage risk by excluding coverage for specific situations deemed too risky or not intended to be covered under the policy terms. Insurers must clearly state exclusions in the policy to inform insureds about what is not covered, ensuring transparency and preventing misunderstandings. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of insurance policy exclusions under Florida state regulations. Question 23. Insurance claims in Florida. Which of the following statements regarding the subrogation process in insurance claims is correct? A. Subrogation allows insureds to sue their insurance company for additional compensation after a claim settlement. B. Subrogation is prohibited in cases where the insured is partially responsible for the claim. C. Subrogation transfers the insured's right to pursue recovery to the insurance company after paying a claim. D. Subrogation requires insureds to provide additional premiums to maintain their coverage after filing a claim. Answer: C. Subrogation transfers the insured's right to pursue recovery to the insurance company after paying a claim. Explanation: Subrogation in Florida and other jurisdictions is a legal principle that allows insurers, after paying a claim on behalf of the insured, to pursue recovery from responsible third parties who may be liable for the loss or damage. This process transfers the insured's right to seek reimbursement for losses to the insurance company, enabling insurers to recover costs and minimize financial losses associated with claims payments. Subrogation helps maintain fairness and accountability in insurance claims by ensuring that responsible parties contribute to covering the cost of losses, aligning with Florida's regulatory framework for equitable claims resolution. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and process of subrogation in insurance claims under Florida state regulations. Question 24. Insurance underwriting. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers during the underwriting process for auto insurance policies? A. Household income and personal savings of the insured. B. Driving record and history of traffic violations. C. Political affiliation and social media activity of the insured. D. Educational background and academic achievements of the insured. Answer: B. Driving record and history of traffic violations. Explanation: When underwriting auto insurance policies in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as the insured's driving record, history of traffic violations, and claims history. These factors help insurers assess the risk associated with insuring the vehicle and determine appropriate premiums and coverage terms. Household income, personal savings, political affiliation, social media activity, educational background, and academic achievements are generally not considered relevant factors in auto insurance underwriting decisions. Insurers focus on objective criteria directly related to driving behavior and risk exposure to maintain fairness and accuracy in assessing insurance premiums. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for auto insurance policies in Florida. Question 25. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is a typical provision included in property insurance policies? A. Coverage for intentional acts committed by the insured. B. Guaranteed replacement cost coverage for personal property. C. Exclusion of coverage for damage caused by windstorms. D. Option to cancel the policy without notice to the insured. Answer: C. Exclusion of coverage for damage caused by windstorms. Explanation: In Florida and other coastal states prone to hurricanes and windstorms, property insurance policies often include exclusions for damage caused by windstorms unless additional coverage is specifically purchased. This exclusion helps insurers manage the risk associated with catastrophic weather events and ensures that policyholders understand the limitations of their coverage. Insureds may have the option to purchase separate windstorm or hurricane coverage to protect their property against these specific perils, reflecting Florida's regulatory approach to managing property insurance risks. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a typical provision related to property insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 26. Insurance claims in Florida. Which of the following statements regarding the appraisal process in insurance claims is correct? A. The appraisal process is mandatory for all insurance claims filed in Florida. B. Insurers have the sole discretion to determine the outcome of the appraisal process. C. The appraisal process allows insureds and insurers to resolve disputes over the amount of loss. D. Insureds are responsible for covering all costs associated with the appraisal process. Answer: C. The appraisal process allows insureds and insurers to resolve disputes over the amount of loss. Explanation: In Florida, the appraisal process is a method used to resolve disputes between insureds and insurers regarding the amount of loss or damage covered under an insurance policy. It is not mandatory for all insurance claims, but can be invoked when there is disagreement over the valuation of the loss. During the appraisal process, each party selects an appraiser, and if they cannot agree on a settlement amount, a neutral umpire is appointed to facilitate resolution. This process helps ensure fair and equitable claims settlements, promoting transparency and adherence to Florida's regulatory standards for resolving insurance claim disputes. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of the appraisal process in insurance claims under Florida state regulations. Question 27. Insurance industry trends and developments. In Florida, which of the following factors contribute to emerging risks in cyber insurance? A. Decreased reliance on digital technologies and online platforms. B. Advances in cybersecurity measures and data protection laws. C. Limited availability of insurance coverage for cyber-related losses. D. High competition among insurers offering cyber insurance policies. Answer: C. Limited availability of insurance coverage for cyber-related losses. Explanation: emerging risks in cyber insurance in Florida and globally are influenced by factors such as the limited availability of insurance coverage for cyber-related losses, including data breaches, ransomware attacks, and other cyber threats. Insurers face challenges in underwriting cyber risks due to the evolving nature of cyber threats and the potential for large-scale losses. While advances in cybersecurity measures and data protection laws, option B, help mitigate risks, the availability and affordability of comprehensive cyber insurance coverage remain key concerns for businesses and individuals in Florida. This reflects ongoing developments in the insurance industry's response to emerging cyber risks and regulatory changes affecting cyber insurance policies. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a significant factor contributing to emerging risks in cyber insurance under Florida state regulations. Question 28. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding surplus lines insurance is correct? A. Surplus lines insurance provides coverage for risks that are ineligible for standard insurance markets. B. Surplus lines insurance policies are always issued by state-regulated insurance companies. C. Surplus lines insurance premiums are exempt from state taxation and regulatory oversight. D. Surplus lines insurance is mandatory for all high-risk properties in Florida. Answer A. Surplus lines insurance provides coverage for risks that are ineligible for standard insurance markets. Explanation: in Florida, surplus lines insurance refers to coverage provided by insurers not licensed in the state, but approved to underwrite risks that are ineligible for coverage through the standard insurance market. These risks may be considered high risk or unconventional, requiring specialized insurance solutions not available from licensed insurers. Surplus lines insurance offers flexibility and access to coverage for unique risks, subject to regulatory oversight and compliance with Florida's surplus lines laws and regulations. Therefore, option is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of surplus lines insurance under Florida's state regulations. Question 29. Insurance contracts. Under Florida law, which of the following statements regarding policy conditions in insurance contracts is correct? A. Policy conditions outline the insured's obligations and duties after a claim is denied by the insurer. B. Policy conditions specify the responsibilities of the insured before and after loss occurs. C. Policy conditions limit the insurer's liability to the insured for losses covered under the policy. D. Policy conditions are optional provisions that insureds can request to add to their policies. Answer: B. Policy conditions specify the responsibilities of the insured before and after loss occurs. Explanation: policy conditions in insurance contracts under Florida law outline the duties and responsibilities of both the insured and the insurer before and after loss occurs. These conditions help clarify the obligations of the insured, such as timely notification of claims, cooperation in the claims investigation process, and adherence to policy terms and conditions. Understanding policy conditions is essential for insureds to fulfill their obligations and maintain coverage under the insurance contract, aligning with Florida's regulatory requirements for clarity and transparency in insurance policy terms. Therefore, option B is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and role of policy conditions in insurance contracts under Florida state regulations. Question 30. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting liability insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Number of bedrooms and bathrooms in the insured property. B. History of prior insurance claims filed by the insured. C. Level of education attained by the insured. D. Membership status in local community organizations. Answer: B. History of prior insurance claims filed by the insured. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider the insured's history of prior insurance claims when underwriting liability insurance policies. The frequency and severity of previous claims can indicate the insured's risk profile and potential for future claims, influencing premium rates and coverage terms. Insurers use claims history to assess risk accurately and determine appropriate underwriting decisions, ensuring fair pricing and adequate coverage for policyholders. Factors such as the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, option A, level of education, option C, and membership status in community organizations, option D, are generally not relevant criteria in liability insurance underwriting. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key factor considered by insurers during the underwriting process for liability insurance in Florida. Question 31. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding flood insurance coverage is correct? A. Flood insurance is automatically included in all homeowners insurance policies. B. Flood insurance coverage is provided exclusively by private insurance companies in Florida. C. Flood insurance policies are regulated and administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. D. Flood insurance coverage is optional for homeowners residing in low-risk flood zones. Answer: C. Flood insurance policies are regulated and administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Explanation: in Florida and across the United States, flood insurance policies are regulated and administered by FEMA through the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP. NFIP policies provide coverage for property owners in participating communities against losses due to flooding, which is typically excluded from standard homeowners insurance policies. While private insurers may offer supplemental flood insurance coverage, NFIP policies are the primary source of flood insurance for many homeowners and businesses, governed by federal regulations to ensure consistency and affordability of coverage. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the regulatory framework for flood insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 32. Insurance claims. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding the appraisal clause in insurance policies is correct? A. The appraisal clause is mandatory for all insurance claims filed in Florida. B. Insurers have the sole discretion to determine the outcome of the appraisal process. C. The appraisal clause allows insureds to dispute the valuation of covered losses. D. Insureds are responsible for all costs associated with the appraisal process. Answer: C. The appraisal clause allows insureds to dispute the valuation of covered losses. Explanation: in Florida, as in many other states, the appraisal clause in insurance policies allows insureds and insurers to resolve disputes over the amount of loss or damage covered under the policy. The appraisal process involves each party selecting an appraiser to assess the value of the loss independently. If the appraisers cannot agree on a settlement amount, they may appoint a neutral umpire to facilitate resolution. This process helps ensure fair and equitable claims settlements, providing a mechanism for insureds to challenge the insurer's valuation of covered losses when necessary. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of the appraisal clause in insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 33. Ethics and professional conduct. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following ethical principles applies to insurance agents and brokers? A. Advocating for the insurer's interests over those of the insured. B. Providing inaccurate information to potential policyholders to secure sales. C. Failing to disclose potential conflicts of interest to clients. D. Maintaining confidentiality of client information and respecting privacy rights. Answer: D. Maintaining confidentiality of client information and respecting privacy rights. Explanation: in Florida and throughout the insurance industry, ethical standards require insurance agents and brokers to maintain confidentiality of client information and respect the privacy rights of policyholders. Agents and brokers must safeguard sensitive information provided by clients during the insurance application and claims process, ensuring confidentiality and compliance with privacy laws and regulations. Upholding ethical principles promotes trust, professionalism, and integrity in client relationships, reflecting Florida's commitment to consumer protection and fair practices within the insurance industry. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies an ethical principle relevant to insurance agents and brokers under Florida state regulations. Question 34. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding policy endorsements is correct? A. Policy endorsements modify policy provisions without requiring the insured's consent. B. Policy endorsements are always included in the standard insurance policy form. C. Policy endorsements provide additional coverage options not included in the base policy. D. Policy endorsements are only applicable to commercial insurance policies in Florida. Answer: C. Policy endorsements provide additional coverage options not included in the base policy. Explanation: in Florida, policy endorsements, also known as riders or addenda, are amendments to the standard insurance policy that modify or expand coverage beyond what is provided in the base policy form. Endorsements allow insureds to tailor their insurance coverage to meet specific needs or address unique risks that may not be adequately covered under the standard policy terms. Insurers offer a variety of endorsements that can add or exclude coverage depending on the insured's requirements and preferences, enhancing flexibility and customization of insurance protection. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of policy endorsements under Florida state regulations. Question 35. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting property insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Marital status and family size of the insured. B. Location and construction materials of the insured property. C. Political affiliations and voting history of the insured. D. Dietary preferences and lifestyle choices of the insured. Answer: B. Location and construction materials of the insured property. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as the location and construction materials of the insured property when underwriting property insurance policies. These factors directly impact the property's susceptibility to risks such as hurricanes, flooding, and other perils prevalent in the region. Insurers assess the property's exposure to potential losses based on its geographic location, proximity to coastal areas, building materials, and construction quality, among other considerations. This risk assessment helps insurers determine appropriate premiums and coverage terms that reflect the property's unique characteristics and exposure to perils, aligning with Florida's regulatory requirements for property insurance underwriting. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for property insurance in Florida. Question 36. Insurance claims. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding the duties of the insured after loss occurs is correct? A. The insured is not required to mitigate damages or take steps to prevent further loss. B. The insured must immediately file a claim with the insurer and wait for further instructions. C. The insured must provide prompt notice of the loss to the insurer and cooperate in the claims investigation. D. The insured is responsible for negotiating the settlement amount with third parties involved in the loss. Answer: C. The insured must provide prompt notice of the loss to the insurer and cooperate in the claims investigation. Explanation: in Florida, insureds have a duty to promptly notify their insurer of any loss or damage covered under their insurance policy and to cooperate in the insurer's investigation of the claim. Prompt notification allows insurers to assess the extent of the loss, investigate the circumstances surrounding the claim, and expedite claims processing and settlement. Insureds are also required to mitigate damages to prevent further loss or damage whenever possible, demonstrating responsible behavior and compliance with their contractual obligations under the insurance policy. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the duties of the insured after a loss occurs under Florida state regulations. Question 37. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding liability insurance coverage is correct? A. Liability insurance covers intentional acts committed by the insured. B. Liability insurance policies are not required for businesses operating in Florida. C. Liability insurance provides financial protection against legal claims for bodily injury or property damage. D. Liability insurance premiums are exempt from state taxation in Florida. Answer: C. Liability insurance provides financial protection against legal claims for bodily injury or property damage. Explanation: in Florida, liability insurance is designed to protect policyholders from financial losses arising from legal claims for bodily injury or property damage caused to others due to the insured's negligence or fault. This coverage helps pay for legal defense costs, settlements, and judgments up to the policy limits, providing financial security and risk management for individuals and businesses. Liability insurance is crucial for protecting assets and ensuring compliance with legal requirements in Florida, emphasizing the importance of coverage against potential liability claims. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the purpose and function of liability insurance under Florida state regulations. Question 38. Insurance policy analysis. In Florida, which of the following components is typically included in the declarations page of an insurance policy? A. Exclusions and limitations of coverage. B. Insuring agreements and policy terms. C. Insurer's obligations to the insured. D. Renewal and cancellation provisions. Answer: B. Insuring agreements and policy terms. Explanation: the declarations page of an insurance policy in Florida typically includes important information such as the insuring agreements, policy terms, insured's name and address, policy period, and other specific details related to coverage. This section summarizes the essential terms and conditions of the insurance contract, outlining what risks are covered, the limits of coverage, deductibles, and any special provisions that apply to the policy. Insurers use the declarations page to provide clear and concise information to insureds about their insurance coverage, facilitating understanding and compliance with policy terms under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key component typically included in the declarations page of an insurance policy in Florida. Question 39. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following entities oversees the licensing and regulation of insurance producers? A. Florida Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV. B. Florida Department of Insurance Regulation, FDIR. C. Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDACS. D. Florida Department of Financial Services, FIFS. Answer: D. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. Explanation: in Florida, the licensing and regulation of insurance producers, including agents and brokers, are overseen by the Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. This department is responsible for ensuring that insurance producers comply with state laws and regulations, meet licensing requirements, and adhere to ethical standards and consumer protection measures. The FDFS plays a crucial role in maintaining the integrity and professionalism of the insurance industry in Florida, safeguarding the interests of consumers and promoting fair practices among insurance producers. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies the regulatory authority responsible for overseeing insurance producer licensing and regulation in Florida. Question 40. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following elements is essential for the formation of a valid insurance contract? A. Negotiation of premiums between the insured and insurer. B. Insurer's ability to unilaterally modify policy terms after issuance. C. Existence of an insurable interest at the time of policy inception. D. Absence of policy conditions and endorsements. Answer: C. Existence of an insurable interest at the time of policy inception. Explanation: in Florida, one of the essential elements for the formation of a valid insurance contract is the existence of an insurable interest at the time the policy is issued. Insurable interest means that the insured must stand to suffer a financial loss or other type of harm if the insured event occurs. This principle ensures that insurance contracts are based on the principle of indemnity, where the insured is compensated for actual losses suffered, rather than allowing for speculative or gambling type insurance contracts. Insurable interest must exist at the inception of the policy, ensuring the validity and enforceability of the insurance contract under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies an essential element required for the formation of a valid insurance contract in Florida. Question 41. Insurance claims. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding the claims handling process is correct? A. Insurers are not required to provide a written explanation for claim denials. B. Insureds have no recourse if insurers fail to promptly investigate claims. C. Insurers must acknowledge receipt of claims within a specified time frame. D. Insureds are responsible for covering all costs associated with claims processing. Answer: C. Insurers must acknowledge receipt of claims within a specified time frame. Explanation: in Florida, insurers are required to promptly acknowledge receipt of claims from policyholders within a specified time frame, typically within a few business days. This acknowledgement must inform the insured about the claims process, including what steps will be taken and what information is needed to evaluate the claim. Timely acknowledgement helps ensure transparency and efficiency in claims handling, allowing insureds to track the progress of their claims and facilitating communication between insurers and policyholders. This requirement reflects Florida's regulatory emphasis on fair and prompt claims handling practices to protect the interests of insureds and ensure timely resolution of insurance claims. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes a requirement for insurers regarding the acknowledgement of claims under Florida state regulations. Question 42. Ethics and professional conduct. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following actions by an insurance agent or broker would constitute a violation of ethical standards? A. Disclosing material information to prospective insureds. B. Engaging in unfair trade practices to gain a competitive advantage. C. Providing accurate and truthful information to clients. D. Complying with state laws and regulations governing insurance transactions. Answer: B. Engaging in unfair trade practices to gain a competitive advantage. Explanation: in Florida, insurance agents and brokers are required to adhere to ethical standards that prohibit unfair trade practices such as misrepresentation, coercion, and deception to gain a competitive advantage in the insurance market. Ethical conduct mandates honesty, integrity, and transparency in dealings with clients and other stakeholders, promoting trust and professionalism within the insurance industry. Agents and brokers must avoid actions that could undermine consumer confidence or violate state regulations governing insurance transactions, ensuring compliance with ethical standards and regulatory requirements in Florida. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the violation of ethical standards related to unfair trade practices under Florida state regulations. Question 43. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding homeowners insurance policies is correct? A. Homeowners insurance policies automatically cover flood damage. B. Homeowners insurance policies exclude coverage for personal liability. C. Homeowners insurance policies typically include coverage for theft and vandalism. D. Homeowners insurance policies do not require deductibles for property claims. Answer: C. Homeowners insurance policies typically include coverage for theft and vandalism. Explanation: in Florida, homeowners insurance policies commonly include coverage for theft and vandalism as part of the standard policy provisions. This coverage protects policyholders against financial losses resulting from theft of personal belongings or damage caused by vandalism to their property. While homeowners insurance policies provide coverage for various risks, including fire, windstorm, and liability, flood damage is typically excluded and requires separate flood insurance coverage. Understanding the scope of coverage under homeowners insurance policies helps policyholders make informed decisions about their insurance needs and ensures compliance with Florida's regulatory requirements for property insurance. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes a typical coverage included in homeowners insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 44. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Personal hobbies and recreational activities of the insured. B. Property management practices and maintenance procedures. C. Political affiliation and voting history of the insured. D. Number of pets owned by employees of the insured business. Answer: B. Property management practices and maintenance procedures. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as property management practices and maintenance procedures when underwriting commercial property insurance policies. These factors help assess the risk of property damage or loss due to inadequate maintenance, neglect, or poor management practices. Insurers evaluate the insured's proactive measures to prevent property damage, such as regular inspections, maintenance schedules, and adherence to safety standards, to determine appropriate coverage terms and premiums. Understanding the importance of property management practices in underwriting commercial property insurance ensures that businesses in Florida maintain insurability and mitigate risks effectively. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 45. Insurance claims in Florida. Which of the following statements regarding the claims settlement process is correct? A. Insurers are not required to provide a written explanation for claim denials. B. Insureds must file a claim within 30 days of a loss to be eligible for coverage. C. Insurers must pay covered claims within a specified time frame after approval. D. Insureds are responsible for negotiating claim settlements with third parties. Answer. C. Insurers must pay covered claims within a specified time frame after approval. Explanation. In Florida, insurers are required to pay covered claims promptly once liability and the extent of the loss have been established and agreed upon with the insured. The time frame for payment varies depending on the type of insurance and specific policy provisions, but generally requires insurers to issue payment within a reasonable period after claim approval. Timely claims settlement helps insureds recover from losses promptly and ensures compliance with Florida's regulatory standards for fair and efficient claims handling practices. Insureds should review their insurance policy to understand the time frame for claims payment and their rights and obligations under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes a requirement for insurers regarding claims settlement under Florida state regulations. Question 46. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following components is typically found in the insuring agreements of an insurance policy? A. Policy exclusions and limitations. B. Conditions for policy renewal. C. Promise to pay covered losses. D. Insurer's right to cancel the policy. Answer. C. Promise to pay covered losses. Explanation. In Florida, the insuring agreement section of an insurance policy typically includes the insurer's promise to pay covered losses as specified in the policy terms. This section outlines the scope of coverage provided under the insurance contract, detailing the types of risks or perils for which the insured is protected. Insuring agreements establish the primary obligations of the insurer to indemnify the insured against covered losses, ensuring clarity and certainty regarding the extent of insurance coverage. Policyholders rely on the insuring agreements to understand the protections afforded by their insurance policy and to make informed decisions about their insurance needs under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a typical component found in the insuring agreements of insurance policies in Florida. Question 47. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following types of insurance policies typically cover legal expenses incurred in defending against lawsuits? A. Auto insurance policies. B. Workers' compensation insurance policies. C. Liability insurance policies. D. Health insurance policies. Answer. C. Liability insurance policies. Explanation. In Florida, liability insurance policies typically cover legal expenses incurred in defending against lawsuits arising from covered claims for bodily injury, property damage, or other covered liabilities. These policies provide financial protection for legal defense costs, court expenses, and settlement payments within the policy limits. Liability insurance is essential for individuals and businesses to mitigate the financial risks associated with legal claims and lawsuits, ensuring coverage for defense and indemnity in accordance with Florida's regulatory requirements for casualty insurance. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the type of insurance policy that typically covers legal expenses in defending against lawsuits under Florida state regulations. Question 48. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting auto insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Level of education attained by the insured. B. Frequency of visits to healthcare providers. C. Driving history and accident record. D. Membership status in local community organizations. Answer: C. Driving history and accident record. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as the insured's driving history and accident record when underwriting auto insurance policies. These factors help assess the insured's risk profile and likelihood of filing future insurance claims based on past driving behavior and accident involvement. Insurers evaluate driving records to determine premium rates, coverage eligibility, and policy terms, reflecting Florida's regulatory emphasis on safe driving practices and risk assessment in auto insurance underwriting. Factors such as education level option A, healthcare visits option B, and community memberships option D are generally not relevant criteria in auto insurance underwriting decisions. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for auto insurance in Florida. Question 49. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding personal umbrella insurance policies is correct? A. Personal umbrella insurance policies provide primary coverage for all types of insurance claims. B. Personal umbrella insurance policies do not require the insured to carry underlying insurance policies. C. Personal umbrella insurance policies typically extend liability coverage beyond the limits of underlying policies. D. Personal umbrella insurance policies exclude coverage for bodily injury claims. Answer: C. Personal umbrella insurance policies typically extend liability coverage beyond the limits of underlying policies. Explanation: in Florida, personal umbrella insurance policies typically provide additional liability coverage that extends beyond the limits of underlying insurance policies, such as homeowners or auto insurance. Umbrella policies serve as an extra layer of protection against catastrophic losses or lawsuits that exceed the primary insurance coverage limits. They do not replace underlying policies, but rather supplement them by providing higher liability limits and broader coverage for various risks, including personal injury and property damage claims. Understanding the purpose and benefits of personal umbrella insurance helps insureds in Florida enhance their overall risk management strategy and financial protection against potential liabilities. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes the coverage extension provided by personal umbrella insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 50. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is true regarding the offer and acceptance process in insurance contracts? A. Insurers are not required to communicate acceptance of offers to prospective insureds. B. Acceptance of an offer must be communicated to the insured without delay. C. Offers for insurance contracts are irrevocable once made by the insurer. D. Insurers have the discretion to modify policy terms after acceptance by the insured. Answer: B. Acceptance of an offer must be communicated to the insured without delay. Explanation: in Florida, acceptance of an offer for an insurance contract must be communicated to the insured without delay once the insurer has made a decision regarding coverage and policy terms. The communication of acceptance initiates the formation of the insurance contract, establishing the rights and obligations of both parties under the agreed-upon terms. Timely communication ensures clarity and mutual understanding between insurers and insureds regarding the acceptance of coverage, policy conditions, and premium payment obligations. Insurers are required to adhere to regulatory guidelines and ethical standards in the offer and acceptance process to maintain transparency and fairness in insurance transactions under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a requirement for insurers regarding the communication of acceptance in insurance contracts under Florida state regulations. Question 51. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which entity oversees the regulation and supervision of insurance companies to ensure solvency and financial stability? A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. B. Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT. C. Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP. D. Florida Department of Health, DO. Answer: A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. Explanation: in Florida, the regulation and supervision of insurance companies to ensure solvency and financial stability are overseen by the Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. The FDFS is responsible for monitoring the financial health and compliance of insurance companies operating within the state, safeguarding policyholders' interests and maintaining stability in the insurance marketplace. Through regulatory oversight, the FDFS evaluates insurers' financial strength, reserves, and risk management practices to mitigate potential risks and protect consumers against insurer insolvency or financial failure. This regulatory framework promotes confidence in the insurance industry and supports Florida's commitment to consumer protection and regulatory compliance. Therefore, option A is correct as it identifies the regulatory authority responsible for overseeing insurance company regulation and supervision in Florida. Question 52. Workers' compensation insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding workers' compensation insurance is correct? A. Workers' compensation insurance covers all types of employee injuries, regardless of fault. B. Employers are not required to carry workers' compensation insurance in Florida. C. Workers' compensation insurance provides coverage for intentional acts by the employer. D. Workers' compensation insurance premiums are exempt from state taxation in Florida. Answer A. Workers' compensation insurance covers all types of employee injuries, regardless of fault. Explanation. In Florida, workers' compensation insurance is designed to provide coverage for work-related injuries and illnesses suffered by employees, regardless of fault. This coverage includes medical expenses, wage replacement benefits, and rehabilitation costs for employees injured on the job. Workers' compensation insurance helps protect both employers and employees by providing financial assistance and legal protection against claims arising from workplace injuries or occupational diseases. Florida law mandates that most employers carry workers' compensation insurance to ensure prompt and fair compensation for injured workers and compliance with state regulatory requirements. Therefore, option A is correct as it accurately describes the coverage provided by workers' compensation insurance under Florida state regulations. Question 53. Insurance claims in Florida. Which of the following statements regarding insurance claim settlements is correct? A. Insurers are not required to provide a written explanation for claim denials. B. Insureds must accept the first settlement offer made by the insurer. C. Insurers must initiate claim investigations within 60 days of receiving notice. D. Insureds have no recourse if insurers delay claim processing beyond a reasonable time frame. Answer. C. Insurers must initiate claim investigations within 60 days of receiving notice. Explanation. In Florida, insurers are required to initiate claim investigations promptly upon receiving notice of a claim from the insured, typically within 14 calendar days. If further investigation is necessary, insurers must inform the insured and complete the investigation within 90 calendar days after receiving the claim. Timely claim investigations ensure prompt evaluation of coverage, determination of liability, and fair settlement of claims within a reasonable time frame. Insurers must provide written notice to the insured explaining the reasons for any claim denials or delays in processing, facilitating transparency and accountability in claims handling under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a requirement for insurers regarding claim investigation timelines in Florida. Question 54. Insurance industry trends and developments. In Florida, which of the following emerging risks is currently impacting the property and casualty insurance industry? A. Declining demand for cybersecurity insurance coverage. B. Increasing frequency of catastrophic weather events. C. Stagnant growth in autonomous vehicle insurance policies. D. Decreasing interest in renewable energy insurance products. Answer. B. Increasing frequency of catastrophic weather events. Explanation. In Florida, the property and casualty insurance industry is experiencing an impact from the increasing frequency and severity of catastrophic weather events, such as hurricanes and flooding. These events pose significant risks to property insurers due to potential widespread damage and large-scale claims payouts. Insurers must assess and manage these risks effectively through underwriting practices, risk mitigation strategies, and reinsurance arrangements to maintain financial stability and ensure continuity of coverage for policyholders. The evolving landscape of catastrophic weather events underscores the importance of adaptive risk management and resilience planning within the insurance industry in Florida. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies an emerging risk currently impacting the property and casualty insurance sector in Florida. Question 55. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding homeowners insurance policy provisions is correct? A. Homeowners insurance policies automatically cover business-related property losses. B. Homeowners insurance policies exclude coverage for personal liability. C. Homeowners insurance policies typically include coverage for additional living expenses. D. Homeowners insurance policies do not require deductibles for property claims. Answer: C. Homeowners insurance policies typically include coverage for additional living expenses. Explanation: in Florida, homeowners insurance policies commonly include coverage for additional living expenses as part of the standard policy provisions. ALE coverage reimburses policyholders for extra costs incurred due to temporary relocation when their home becomes uninhabitable due to a covered loss, such as fire or severe storm damage. This coverage helps mitigate the financial burden of living away from home during repairs or reconstruction, including expenses for temporary lodging, meals, and other essential living expenses. Understanding the scope of ALE coverage under homeowners insurance policies in Florida enables policyholders to effectively plan for unexpected disruptions and ensure comprehensive protection against property-related risks. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes a typical coverage included in homeowners insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 56. Insurance contract formation. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following actions constitutes a valid consideration in the formation of an insurance contract? A. Insurer's promise to issue future policy endorsements. B. Insured's obligation to pay premiums in exchange for coverage. C. Insurer's discretion to modify policy terms after acceptance. D. Insured's right to cancel the policy at any time without penalty. Answer: B. Insured's obligation to pay premiums in exchange for coverage. Explanation: in Florida, consideration is an essential element of a valid insurance contract, requiring both parties to provide something of value as part of the contractual agreement. In the context of insurance, the insured's obligation to pay premiums in exchange for coverage constitutes valid consideration. Premium payments reflect the insured's commitment to the insurance contract, while the insurer's promise to provide coverage and fulfill policy obligations constitutes consideration on their part. This mutual exchange of value ensures the enforceability and validity of the insurance contract under Florida state regulations, emphasizing the contractual principles of offer, acceptance, and consideration in insurance transactions. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a valid consideration in the formation of an insurance contract in Florida. Question 57. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which of the following statements regarding subrogation in insurance claims is correct? A. Insurers are prohibited from pursuing subrogation against third parties responsible for insured losses. B. Insurers may waive their right to subrogation at the insured's request. C. Insurers must initiate subrogation proceedings within 180 days of claim settlement. D. Insurers are not required to compensate insureds for losses covered under subrogation. Answer: B. Insurers may waive their right to subrogation at the insured's request. Explanation: in Florida, subrogation refers to the insurer's right to pursue recovery from third parties responsible for causing insured losses after compensating the insured for covered damages. Insurers have the discretion to waive their right to subrogation if requested by the insured, typically through endorsement or provision in the insurance policy. Waiving subrogation allows insureds to retain any compensation received from responsible third parties without the insurer pursuing recovery actions on their behalf. This option provides flexibility and accommodation for insureds in managing their claims and recovery processes under Florida state regulations, reflecting the principles of fairness and consumer protection in insurance claims handling. Therefore, option B is correct as it describes the insurer's ability to waive subrogation rights at the insured's request in Florida. Question 58. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding flood insurance coverage is correct? A. Flood insurance is included as a standard coverage in homeowners insurance policies. B. Insurers are prohibited from offering flood insurance in high-risk flood zones. C. Flood insurance coverage can be obtained through the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP). D. Flood insurance coverage is optional for homeowners in Florida. Answer: C. Flood insurance coverage can be obtained through the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP). Explanation: in Florida, flood insurance coverage is typically not included in standard homeowners insurance policies. Instead, flood insurance can be obtained through the National Flood Insurance Program (NFIP), which is administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency (FEMA). The NFIP provides flood insurance coverage for homeowners, renters, and businesses in participating communities, including those in high-risk flood zones. It is important for property owners in Florida, particularly those located in flood-prone areas, to consider purchasing flood insurance through the NFIP to protect against financial losses due to flood damage. Understanding the availability and scope of flood insurance coverage options under the NFIP helps property owners in Florida make informed decisions about their insurance needs and risk management strategies. Therefore, option C is correct as it accurately describes how flood insurance coverage can be obtained in Florida under state regulations. Question 59. Policy interpretation and analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following factors is considered when interpreting ambiguous terms in an insurance policy? A. Insured subjective understanding of policy terms. B. Insurer's preference for broad interpretation of coverage. C. Legislative intent behind insurance regulations. D. Prior insurance claims history of the insured. Answer: C. Legislative intent behind insurance regulations. Explanation: in Florida, when interpreting ambiguous terms in an insurance policy, courts may consider the legislative intent behind insurance regulations as a guiding factor. Legislative intent refers to the purpose and objectives of insurance laws and regulations enacted by the state legislature to protect consumers, ensure fairness in insurance transactions, and uphold public policy interests. Courts interpret ambiguous policy terms in a manner that aligns with legislative intent, promoting consistency and adherence to statutory requirements in insurance policy interpretation. This approach helps maintain clarity and predictability in insurance contract interpretation under Florida state regulations, emphasizing the importance of legislative intent in resolving disputes and enforcing policy terms. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a factor considered when interpreting ambiguous terms in an insurance policy under Florida law. Question 60. Ethics and professional conduct. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following actions by an insurance agent or broker would likely violate ethical standards? A. Providing accurate and truthful information to clients. B. Disclosing potential conflicts of interest to clients. C. Offering illegal inducements to attract new clients. D. Completing required continuing education courses. Answer: C. Offering illegal inducements to attract new clients. Explanation: in Florida, insurance agents and brokers are required to adhere to ethical standards that prohibit offering illegal inducements or incentives to attract new clients. Ethical conduct mandates honesty, integrity, and fairness in all dealings with clients, avoiding actions that could compromise consumer trust or violate state regulations governing insurance practices. Disclosing potential conflicts of interest are option B, and providing accurate information, option A, are examples of ethical behavior expected of insurance professionals to ensure transparency and consumer protection. Continuing education, option D, is also a requirement to maintain professional competence and knowledge in the insurance industry. However, offering illegal inducements violates ethical standards and regulatory requirements, potentially leading to disciplinary actions or sanctions against the insurance agent or broker in Florida. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies an action that would likely violate ethical standards for insurance professionals under Florida state regulations. Question 61. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Social media activity of the insured's employees. B. History of property tax payments. C. Building construction materials and fire safety measures. D. Number of vehicles owned by the insured's executives. Answer: C. Building construction materials and fire safety measures. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as building construction materials and fire safety measures when underwriting commercial property insurance policies. These factors influence the risk of property damage or loss due to fire hazards and structural vulnerabilities, affecting premium rates and coverage terms. Insurers assess the adequacy of fire prevention and mitigation measures, building materials resilience, and compliance with local fire codes to determine the insurability of commercial properties. Understanding the impact of building construction and fire safety measures in underwriting helps insureds in Florida enhance property protection, mitigate risks, and secure comprehensive insurance coverage tailored to their business needs. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a key factor considered during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 62. Consumer protection laws. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following actions by an insurance company would likely violate consumer protection laws? A. Issuing policy documents in clear and understandable language. B. Providing misleading information about policy benefits. C. Offering discounts for policy renewals. D. Updating policyholders on regulatory changes. Answer: B. Providing misleading information about policy benefits. Explanation: in Florida, consumer protection laws mandate that insurance companies must provide accurate and truthful information to policyholders regarding policy benefits, coverage terms, and premium rates. Providing misleading information about policy benefits, option B, violates these laws by deceiving consumers and potentially leading to misunderstandings or unfair treatment. Insurance companies are required to ensure transparency, honesty, and clarity in all communications with policyholders to protect consumer rights and promote fair business practices. Issuing policy documents in clear language, option A, offering discounts for policy renewals, option C, and updating policyholders on regulatory changes, option D, are examples of practices that enhance consumer protection and regulatory compliance in the insurance industry. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies an action that would likely violate consumer protection laws under Florida state regulations. Question 63. Emerging risks and exposures. In Florida, which of the following emerging risks is currently impacting the casualty insurance sector? A. Decreasing demand for cybersecurity insurance coverage. B. Growing prevalence of ride-sharing liability claims. C. Declining interest in environmental pollution insurance policies. D. Stagnant growth in inland marine insurance products. Answer: B. Growing prevalence of ride-sharing liability claims. Explanation: in Florida, the casualty insurance sector is experiencing an impact from the growing prevalence of ride-sharing liability claims. The rise of ride-sharing services has introduced new risks and liability exposures for insurers, particularly concerning accidents, injuries, and property damage involving ride-sharing vehicles. Insurers must assess and manage these risks through innovative underwriting practices, policy endorsements, and claims handling strategies to address the evolving landscape of transportation-related liabilities. Understanding the implications of ride-sharing liability claims helps insurers in Florida adapt their insurance products and risk management strategies to meet the needs of policyholders and regulatory requirements. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies an emerging risk currently impacting the casualty insurance sector in Florida. Question 64. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is typically included in the declarations page of an insurance policy? A. Detailed policy exclusions. B. Insurer's financial rating. C. Policyholder's contact information. D. Insuring agreements. Answer: C. Policyholder's contact information. Explanation: in Florida, the declarations page of an insurance policy typically includes essential information such as the policyholder's contact information, insured property details, policy term dates, coverage limits, and premium amounts. This page serves as a summary of key policy provisions and enables policyholders to verify coverage specifics and contact the insurer or agent as needed. Including accurate contact information helps facilitate communication between insureds and insurers, ensuring timely assistance and clarity regarding policy terms and coverage conditions under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies information typically found on the declarations page of an insurance policy in Florida. Question 65. Loss settlement methods. In Florida, which of the following loss settlement methods is commonly used in property insurance policies to determine reimbursement for damaged property? A. Replacement cost value, RCV. B. Salvage value adjustment. C. Fixed indemnity amount. D. Actual cash value, SCV. Answer A. Replacement cost value, RCV. Explanation: in Florida, property insurance policies commonly use the replacement cost value (RCV) method to determine reimbursement for damaged property. RCV represents the cost to replace or repair the damaged property with new materials of like kind and quality, without deduction for depreciation. This method ensures that insureds receive adequate compensation to restore their property to its pre-loss condition, promoting full recovery from covered losses under the insurance policy. Understanding the difference between RCV and actual cash value (ACV) helps insureds in Florida make informed decisions about their insurance coverage needs and property protection strategies. Therefore, option A is correct as it identifies a common loss settlement method used in property insurance policies in Florida. Question 66. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding liability insurance policy provisions is correct? A. Liability insurance policies exclude coverage for intentional acts by the insured. B. Liability insurance policies do not provide coverage for legal defense costs. C. Liability insurance policies automatically renew annually without notice. D. Liability insurance policies include coverage for punitive damages. Answer A. Liability insurance policies exclude coverage for intentional acts by the insured. Explanation: in Florida, liability insurance policies typically exclude coverage for intentional acts committed by the insured. Intentional acts refer to actions taken with the purpose of causing harm or damage, which are considered outside the scope of insurance coverage intended to protect against accidental or unforeseen events. Insurers exclude coverage for intentional acts to uphold principles of insurability, fair risk distribution, and public policy considerations under Florida state regulations. Insureds are advised to review policy provisions carefully and understand coverage limitations related to intentional acts to avoid potential coverage disputes or claims denial scenarios. Therefore, option A is correct as it accurately describes a common exclusion found in liability insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 67. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is typically covered under commercial general liability (CGL) insurance policies? A. Employee health benefits. B. Damage to company vehicles. C. Legal defense costs for lawsuits. D. Loss of business income. Answer: C. Legal defense costs for lawsuits. Explanation: in Florida, commercial general liability (CGL) insurance policies typically cover legal defense costs for lawsuits and claims alleging bodily injury, property damage, or personal and advertising injury caused by the insured's business operations or products. Legal defense coverage includes expenses such as attorney fees, court costs, and settlement payments incurred to defend against covered claims. CGL policies help protect businesses in Florida from financial losses and legal liabilities arising from third-party lawsuits, supporting their operational continuity and risk management efforts. Understanding the scope and benefits of legal defense coverage under CGL insurance policies enables businesses to effectively manage potential liabilities and mitigate legal risks under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a typical coverage provided by commercial general liability insurance in Florida. Question 68. Insurance underwriting when assessing risk for auto insurance policies in Florida. Which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Homeownership status of the insured. B. Type of vehicle safety features. C. Credit score of the insured. D. Number of traffic citations issued. Answer: B. Type of vehicle safety features. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as the type of vehicle safety features when assessing risk for auto insurance policies. Vehicle safety features, including anti-lock brakes, airbags, and electronic stability control, contribute to reducing the risk of accidents and enhancing driver safety. Insurers may offer discounts or adjust premiums based on the presence and effectiveness of these safety features in insured vehicles. Understanding how vehicle safety features impact auto insurance rates helps policyholders in Florida make informed decisions about vehicle purchases, insurance coverage options, and risk management strategies to improve driver safety and reduce insurance costs. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a relevant factor considered during the underwriting process for auto insurance policies in Florida. Question 69. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which entity is responsible for overseeing the licensing and regulation of insurance agents and brokers? A. Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, EHME. B. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. C. Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, ER. D. Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDACS. Answer: B. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. Explanation: in Florida, the Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS, is responsible for overseeing the licensing and regulation of insurance agents and brokers. The FDFS ensures that insurance professionals meet licensing requirements, adhere to ethical standards, and comply with state laws and regulations governing insurance practices. By regulating insurance agents and brokers, the FDFS aims to protect consumers, promote fair competition, and uphold the integrity of the insurance industry in Florida. Understanding the role of the FDFS in licensing and regulating insurance professionals helps ensure professionalism, accountability, and consumer trust within the insurance marketplace under Florida's state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the regulatory authority responsible for overseeing insurance agent and broker licensing in Florida. Question 70. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is considered an essential element of an insurance contract? A. Insured's obligation to provide periodic premium payments. B. Insurer's discretion to modify policy terms unilaterally. C. Insured's right to cancel the policy at any time without penalty. D. Insurer's promise to pay covered losses. Answer: D. Insurer's promise to pay covered losses. Explanation: in Florida, an essential element of an insurance contract is the insurer's promise to pay covered losses in exchange for the insured's premium payments. This promise forms the basis of the contractual agreement between the insurer and the insured, establishing mutual obligations and responsibilities under the insurance policy. Insurers are legally obligated to fulfill their promise to indemnify the insured for covered losses as defined in the policy terms and conditions. Understanding the insurer's promise to pay covered losses underscores the fundamental purpose of insurance contracts in providing financial protection and risk transfer for policyholders in Florida. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies an essential element of an insurance contract under Florida state regulations. Question 71. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which of the following actions by an insurer would likely violate regulations regarding claims settlement practices? A. Offering fair settlements based on thorough claims investigations. B. Delaying claims processing due to high volume of claims. C. Denying claims without providing a valid reason. D. Negotiating claim settlements with insured's legal representative. Answer: C. Denying claims without providing a valid reason. Explanation: in Florida, insurers are required to handle insurance claims fairly and in good faith, which includes providing a valid reason when denying a claim. Denying claims without justification or valid reasons violates regulations governing claims settlement practices and may subject insurers to regulatory sanctions or legal consequences. Insurers must conduct prompt and thorough investigations, communicate effectively with policyholders, and provide transparent explanations for claim denials or adverse claim decisions under Florida state regulations. Upholding fair claims handling practices helps protect consumer rights, ensure compliance with insurance laws, and maintain public trust in the insurance industry. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies an action that would likely violate regulations regarding claims settlement practices in Florida. Question 72. Ethics and professional conduct. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following ethical principles applies to insurance agents and brokers? A. Promoting competition by disparaging competitors. B. Disclosing conflicts of interest to clients. C. Exaggerating policy benefits to attract clients. D. Concealing information about policy terms from clients. Answer: B. Disclosing conflicts of interest to clients. Explanation: in Florida, insurance agents and brokers are required to adhere to ethical standards that include disclosing conflicts of interest to clients. Ethical conduct mandates honesty, integrity, and transparency in all dealings with clients, ensuring that agents and brokers act in the best interests of their clients and avoid conflicts that could impair their impartiality or objectivity. Disclosing conflicts of interest helps maintain trust and confidence in the agent-client relationship, enabling clients to make informed decisions about insurance products and services. Ethical guidelines prohibit practices such as disparaging competitors, option A, exaggerating policy benefits, option C, or concealing information about policy terms, option D, which could undermine consumer trust and violate professional standards in the insurance industry. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies an ethical principle that applies to insurance agents and brokers under Florida state regulations. Question 73. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following statements regarding personal auto insurance policy provisions is correct? A. Personal auto insurance policies do not cover liability for bodily injury. B. Personal auto insurance policies exclude coverage for uninsured motorists. C. Personal auto insurance policies automatically renew annually without notice. D. Personal auto insurance policies include coverage for rental car reimbursement. Answer: D. Personal auto insurance policies include coverage for rental car reimbursement. Explanation: in Florida, personal auto insurance policies often include coverage options such as rental car reimbursement, which compensates policyholders for the cost of renting a substitute vehicle while their insured vehicle is being repaired due to a covered loss. This coverage helps mitigate the inconvenience and financial burden of temporary vehicle replacement, supporting insureds in maintaining mobility and daily routines during repair periods. Understanding the availability and terms of rental car reimbursement coverage under personal auto insurance policies in Florida enables policyholders to make informed decisions about their insurance needs and coverage enhancements. Therefore, option D is correct as it accurately describes the typical coverage included in personal auto insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 74. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting homeowners insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically considered by insurers? A. Length of the insured's daily commute. B. Number of pets owned by the insured. C. Proximity to bodies of water prone to flooding. D. Insured's frequency of international travel. Answer: C. Proximity to bodies of water prone to flooding. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider factors such as the proximity of the insured property to bodies of water prone to flooding when underwriting homeowners insurance policies. Properties located in flood-prone areas face higher risks of flood damage, influencing insurance premiums and coverage terms. Insurers assess the potential for flood-related losses based on geographic location, flood zone designations, and historical flood data to determine appropriate coverage levels and risk mitigation strategies for insured properties in Florida. Understanding how proximity to bodies of water impacts homeowners insurance underwriting helps insureds assess their property's vulnerability to flood risks and ensure adequate insurance protection against potential losses under Florida state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a relevant factor considered during the underwriting process for homeowners insurance in Florida. Question 75. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which of the following practices by an insurer during the claims handling process is considered unethical? A. Promptly investigating claims and providing clear explanations. B. Offering fair settlements based on policy terms and coverage. C. Delaying claim payments without reasonable cause. D. Consulting legal counsel to ensure compliance with state regulations. C. Delaying claim payments without reasonable cause. Explanation: in Florida, insurers are required to handle insurance claims promptly, fairly, and in good faith, which includes avoiding unjustified delays in claim processing or payments. Delaying claim payments without reasonable cause can impose financial hardships on policyholders, disrupt their recovery efforts, and potentially violate state regulations governing claims settlement practices. Insurers are expected to conduct thorough investigations, communicate effectively with policyholders, and adhere to established timelines for claims resolution to ensure timely compensation for covered losses. Upholding ethical standards in claims handling promotes consumer trust, regulatory compliance, and fair treatment of policyholders in Florida's insurance marketplace. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a practice that would be considered unethical during the insurance claims handling process under Florida state regulations. Question 76. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following scenarios would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowner's insurance policy? A. Damage caused by a burst pipe due to freezing temperatures. B. Theft of personal belongings while traveling abroad. C. Personal injury liability resulting from a slip and fall accident on the insured's property. D. Loss of jewelry due to accidental misplacement. D. Loss of jewelry due to accidental misplacement. Explanation. In Florida, standard homeowners insurance policies typically exclude coverage for losses resulting from accidental misplacement of personal belongings, including jewelry. Coverage may be available for specific perils such as fire, theft, vandalism, and certain types of water damage, depending on the policy terms and endorsements. Insureds should review policy exclusions and limitations to understand coverage provisions related to personal property losses under Florida state regulations. Understanding coverage exclusions helps homeowners assess their insurance needs, consider additional endorsements or riders for valuable items like jewelry, and mitigate financial risks associated with potential losses. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Florida. Question 77. Policy interpretation and analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which principle guides the interpretation of ambiguous terms in insurance policies? A. Insured subjective understanding of policy provisions. B. Insurer's preference for strict interpretation of policy exclusions. C. Legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. D. Industry standard practices among insurers. C. Legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. Explanation. In Florida, when interpreting ambiguous terms in insurance policies, courts often consider the legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. Legislative intent refers to the purpose and objectives of statutory provisions enacted by the state legislature to regulate insurance practices, protect consumers, and ensure fairness in insurance transactions. Courts interpret ambiguous policy terms in a manner consistent with legislative intent, promoting adherence to statutory requirements and public policy goals under Florida state regulations. Understanding the role of legislative intent in policy interpretation helps insurers, agents, and policyholders navigate insurance disputes and uphold legal compliance in insurance contract interpretation processes. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a guiding principle for interpreting ambiguous terms in insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 78. Insurance industry trends and developments. In Florida, which emerging trend is impacting the property insurance sector? A. Decreasing demand for earthquake insurance coverage. B. Rising costs of construction materials and labor. C. Declining interest in cyber liability insurance policies. D. Increased frequency of windstorm and hurricane claims. D. Increased frequency of windstorm and hurricane claims. Explanation. In Florida, the property insurance sector is impacted by an increased frequency of windstorm and hurricane claims due to the state's vulnerability to severe weather events. Hurricanes and windstorms pose significant risks to properties, requiring insurers to assess and manage these exposures effectively through underwriting, pricing, and claims management strategies. Insurers in Florida must consider factors such as historical storm data, property location mitigation efforts, and reinsurance arrangements to address the growing challenges posed by windstorm and hurricane risks. Understanding the impact of increased storm activity on property insurance helps insurers and policyholders in Florida prepare for potential losses, enhance resilience, and maintain adequate insurance coverage against natural disasters under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies an emerging trend impacting the property insurance sector in Florida. Question 79. workers' compensation insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is a primary objective of workers' compensation insurance? A. Providing retirement benefits to injured workers. B. Offering financial assistance for medical expenses related to work injuries. C. Reimbursing employers for lost productivity due to employee injuries. D. Compensating workers for emotional distress caused by workplace accidents. B. Offering financial assistance for medical expenses related to work injuries. Explanation: in Florida, workers' compensation insurance primarily aims to provide financial assistance for medical expenses incurred by employees due to work-related injuries or illnesses. This coverage helps ensure that injured workers receive prompt medical treatment and necessary rehabilitation services without bearing the financial burden personally. Workers' compensation also provides partial wage replacement benefits for employees temporarily unable to work due to job-related injuries or illnesses, supporting their financial stability during recovery periods. Understanding the objectives of workers' compensation insurance in Florida helps employers comply with legal requirements, protect employee rights, and manage workplace injury risks effectively under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a primary objective of workers' compensation insurance under Florida state regulations. Question 80. Insurance industry trends and developments. In Florida, which technological advancement is influencing the property insurance sector? A. Increased use of virtual reality for property inspections. B. Adoption of blockchain technology for policy issuance. C. Expansion of drone usage in claims adjustment. D. Implementation of biometric authentication for policyholders. C. Expansion of drone usage in claims adjustment. Explanation: in Florida, the property insurance sector is increasingly adopting drone technology for claims adjustment processes. Drones enable insurers to conduct aerial inspections of properties, assess damage after natural disasters or other covered events, and expedite claims processing with greater accuracy and efficiency. By utilizing drones, insurers in Florida can enhance risk assessment, streamline claims handling procedures, and improve customer service delivery to policyholders. Understanding the impact of drone technology on claims adjustment helps insurers leverage innovation, optimize operational workflows, and adapt to evolving industry standards and consumer expectations under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a technological advancement influencing the property insurance sector in Florida. Question 81. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, which element of an insurance contract relates to the insured's obligation to disclose relevant information accurately? A. Offer and acceptance. B. Conditions and endorsements. C. Representations and warranties. D. Consideration and premium. C. Representations and warranties. Explanation: in Florida, representations and warranties in an insurance contract relate to the insured's obligation to disclose relevant information accurately and truthfully during the application process. Representations are statements made by the insured regarding material facts that influence the insurer's decision to accept or underwrite the policy. Warranties are specific promises or guarantees made by the insured regarding the truthfulness of information provided and compliance with policy terms. Insurers rely on accurate representations and warranties to assess risk, determine premium rates, and establish coverage conditions under Florida state regulations. Understanding the significance of representations and warranties helps insureds fulfill their disclosure obligations and maintain transparency in insurance transactions to avoid coverage disputes or policy rescission. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies an element of an insurance contract related to the insured's duty to disclose relevant information accurately in Florida. Question 82. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which factor typically influences the determination of liability insurance premiums for businesses? A. Employee turnover rate. B. Annual revenue projections. C. Claims history and loss experience. D. Marketing and advertising expenditures. C. Claims history and loss experience. Explanation: in Florida, insurers consider the claims history and loss experience of businesses when determining liability insurance premiums. A business's claims history reflects its risk profile and likelihood of future claims, influencing premium rates accordingly. Insurers analyze past claim payments, frequency of claims, severity of losses, and risk management practices to assess the potential for future liabilities and establish appropriate insurance pricing for commercial liability coverage. Understanding the impact of claims, history, and loss experience on liability insurance premiums helps businesses in Florida manage insurance costs, implement risk mitigation strategies, and maintain adequate coverage against potential liabilities under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a key factor influencing the determination of liability insurance premiums for businesses in Florida. Question 83. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, what is typically included in the insuring agreements section of an insurance policy? A. Policyholder's duties after a loss. B. Circumstances under which coverage applies. C. Exclusions from coverage. D. Premium payment terms and conditions. B. Circumstances under which coverage applies. Explanation. In Florida, the insuring agreements section of an insurance policy typically specifies the circumstances under which coverage applies to insured losses. Insuring agreements outline the scope of coverage provided by the insurer, including the perils insured against, property or individuals covered, and policy limits. Understanding the terms and conditions outlined in the insuring agreements helps insureds in Florida determine the extent of their insurance coverage, assess policy suitability, and clarify coverage triggers for filing claims under state regulations. Insuring agreements serve as the foundation of insurance contracts, defining the rights and obligations of both the insurer and the insured in accordance with Florida insurance laws. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a typical inclusion in the insuring agreements section of an insurance policy under Florida state regulations. Question 84. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically evaluated by insurers? A. Personal credit score of the property owner. B. Age and condition of the property. C. Number of employees working on the property. D. Distance to the nearest grocery store. B. Age and condition of the property. Explanation. In Florida, insurers typically evaluate the age and condition of commercial properties when underwriting commercial property insurance policies. The age and condition of a property impact its vulnerability to risks such as structural failures, maintenance issues, and potential hazards that could lead to property damage or loss. Insurers assess these factors to determine insurance eligibility, establish coverage terms, and calculate premium rates based on the property's physical condition and risk exposure. Understanding the importance of evaluating the age and condition of commercial properties helps insurers and property owners in Florida mitigate risks, maintain adequate insurance protection, and safeguard property investments against unforeseen events under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a relevant factor considered during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 85. Insurance contracts. Under Florida state regulations, what is the purpose of conditions and endorsements in an insurance policy? A. To modify coverage limits based on inflation rates. B. To outline policyholder responsibilities after a loss. C. To exclude coverage for specific perils. D. To provide additional coverage for named perils. B. To outline policyholder responsibilities after loss. Explanation. In Florida, conditions and endorsements in an insurance policy serve to outline policyholder responsibilities and obligations after loss occurs. Conditions specify actions and duties that the insured must fulfill to comply with policy terms and conditions, such as notifying the insurer of a loss, cooperating in claims investigations, and mitigating damages. Endorsements, on the other hand, modify or add to the standard policy terms by providing additional coverage for specific perils, changing coverage limits, or excluding certain risks. Understanding the purpose of conditions and endorsements helps policyholders in Florida comply with insurance policy requirements, maximize coverage benefits, and effectively manage insurance claims under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the purpose of conditions and endorsements in an insurance policy under Florida state regulations. Question 86. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowner's insurance policy? A. Damage caused by a fire ignited by lightning. B. Theft of personal property from a vehicle. C. Water damage due to a burst pipe. D. Loss of jewelry during international travel. D. Loss of jewelry during international travel. Explanation: in Florida, standard homeowners insurance policies typically exclude coverage for loss of jewelry during international travel. While homeowners insurance may cover personal property theft or damage under certain circumstances, coverage exclusions often apply to losses occurring outside the insured premises or beyond specified territorial limits. Insureds should review policy terms and consider purchasing additional endorsements or riders to extend coverage for valuable items like jewelry during travel abroad. Understanding coverage exclusions helps homeowners in Florida assess their insurance needs, mitigate potential gaps in coverage, and protect personal belongings against various risks under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Florida. Question 87. State insurance laws and regulations. Under Florida state regulations, which entity is responsible for overseeing insurance producer licensing and continuing education requirements? A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. B. Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDACS. C. Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, ER. D. Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, WA. A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. Explanation: in Florida, the Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS, is responsible for overseeing insurance producer licensing and continuing education requirements. The FDFS ensures that insurance producers meet educational prerequisites, pass licensing examinations, and comply with ongoing continuing education mandates to maintain licensure. By regulating insurance producer qualifications and professional standards, the FDFS promotes consumer protection, industry integrity, and regulatory compliance within the insurance marketplace in Florida. Understanding the role of the FDFS in insurance producer oversight helps ensure competent and ethical conduct among licensed insurance professionals, enhancing consumer confidence and regulatory oversight under state regulations. Therefore, option is correct as it identifies the regulatory authority responsible for overseeing insurance producer licensing and continuing education requirements in Florida. Question 88. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting commercial liability insurance in Florida, which of the following factors is typically evaluated by insurers? A. Employee benefits offered by the insured. B. Proximity to healthcare facilities. C. History of employee turnover. D. Nature of business operations and associated risks. D. Nature of business operations and associated risks. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically evaluate the nature of business operations and associated risks when underwriting commercial liability insurance. Insurers assess the type of industry, business activities, operational hazards, and exposure to potential liabilities to determine insurance eligibility, coverage terms, and premium rates. Understanding the nature of business operations helps insurers tailor insurance solutions, implement risk management strategies, and mitigate financial risks for insured businesses in Florida under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a relevant factor considered during the underwriting process for commercial liability insurance in Florida. Question 89. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which practice by an insurer during the claims handling process is considered unethical? A. Investigating claims thoroughly to validate coverage. B. Denying claims based on policy exclusions. C. Delaying claim payments to review additional documentation. D. Providing clear explanations for claim denials to policyholders. C. Delaying claim payments to review additional documentation. Explanation: in Florida, insurers are expected to handle insurance claims promptly, fairly, and in good faith. Delays in claim payments without reasonable cause, such as reviewing additional documentation indefinitely, may unjustly burden policyholders, disrupt their financial planning, and potentially violate state regulations governing claims settlement practices. Insurers are required to conduct timely investigations, communicate effectively with policyholders, and adhere to established timelines for claims processing to ensure prompt and equitable resolution of claims under Florida state regulations. Upholding ethical standards in claims handling promotes transparency, consumer trust, and regulatory compliance within the insurance industry. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a practice that would be considered unethical during the insurance claims handling process in Florida. Question 90. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following types of insurance policies typically covers liability for bodily injury or property damage caused by an insured? A. Homeowners insurance policy. B. Personal auto insurance policy. C. Health insurance policy. D. Disability insurance policy. B. Personal auto insurance policy. Explanation. In Florida, a personal auto insurance policy typically covers liability for bodily injury or property damage caused by an insured while operating a vehicle. Personal auto insurance policies include liability coverage to compensate third parties for injuries or property damage resulting from the insured's negligent actions or at-fault accidents. This coverage helps protect insureds from financial liabilities arising from legal claims and lawsuits related to auto accidents under Florida state regulations. Understanding the scope of coverage provided by personal auto insurance policies enables insureds to comply with legal requirements, manage risk exposure, and maintain adequate insurance protection against potential liabilities on the road. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the type of insurance policy that covers liability for bodily injury or property damage under Florida state regulations. Question 91. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which statement regarding commercial property insurance policy provisions is correct? A. Commercial property insurance policies automatically cover flood damage. B. Business interruption coverage is typically excluded from commercial property policies. C. Valuation methods for property replacement are standardized across all policies. D. Endorsements can be used to add coverage for specific perils. D. Endorsements can be used to add coverage for specific perils. Explanation. In Florida, commercial property insurance policies allow for endorsements to modify or add coverage for specific perils that may not be included in standard policy provisions. Endorsements enable businesses to customize their insurance coverage to address unique risks, enhance protection against specific threats, and meet regulatory requirements or lender demands. Understanding the flexibility provided by endorsements in commercial property insurance policies helps insureds in Florida tailor insurance solutions to their business needs, mitigate exposure to potential losses, and maintain comprehensive coverage against various risks under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a capability of endorsements in commercial property insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 92. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, what role does the declarations page play in an insurance policy? A. It outlines the insured's responsibilities after a loss. B. It specifies the circumstances under which coverage applies. C. It provides a summary of policy terms and insured property details. D. It lists excluded perils from the coverage. C. It provides a summary of policy terms and insured property details. Explanation. In Florida, the declarations page of an insurance policy serves as a summary that outlines essential policy terms, insured property details, coverage limits, deductibles, and premium amounts. The declarations page provides insureds with a comprehensive overview of their insurance policy, facilitating understanding of coverage scope, policyholder responsibilities, and financial obligations. Insureds should review the declarations page carefully to verify accuracy, assess coverage adequacy, and address any discrepancies or misunderstandings with their insurer under state regulations. Understanding the purpose and contents of the declarations page helps insureds in Florida effectively manage their insurance policies, make informed decisions, and maintain compliance with contractual obligations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the role of the declarations page in an insurance policy under Florida state regulations. Question 93. Casualty insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is typically covered under a commercial general liability CGL insurance policy? A. Property damage caused by a covered peril. B. Medical expenses for employees injured on the job. C. Lost income due to business interruption. D. Replacement cost for damaged business equipment. A. Property damage caused by a covered peril. Explanation. In Florida, A commercial general liability (CGL) insurance policy typically covers property damage caused by covered perils, such as fire, theft, vandalism, or other specified events. CGL policies provide financial protection for businesses against legal liabilities arising from property damage or bodily injury claims brought by third parties. Coverage includes costs associated with property repairs or replacement due to covered perils, helping insureds mitigate financial losses and legal expenses resulting from property damage incidents under state regulations. Understanding the scope of coverage provided by CGL insurance policies enables businesses in Florida to safeguard their assets, manage risk exposure, and maintain operational continuity in the event of unexpected property damage. Therefore, option A is correct as it identifies a typical coverage under commercial general liability (CGL) insurance policy in Florida. Question 94. Policy interpretation and analysis. Under Florida state regulations, which principle guides the interpretation of ambiguous terms in insurance policies? A. Insured subjective understanding of policy provisions. B. Insurer's preference for strict interpretation of policy exclusions. C. Legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. D. Industry standard practices among insurers. C. Legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. Explanation. In Florida, when interpreting ambiguous terms in insurance policies, courts often consider the legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. Legislative intent refers to the purpose and objectives of statutory provisions enacted by the state legislature to regulate insurance practices, protect consumers, and ensure fairness in insurance transactions. Courts interpret ambiguous policy terms in a manner consistent with legislative intent, promoting adherence to statutory requirements and public policy goals under Florida state regulations. Understanding the role of legislative intent in policy interpretation helps insurers, agents, and policyholders navigate insurance disputes and uphold legal compliance in insurance contract interpretation processes. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a guiding principle for interpreting ambiguous terms in insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 95. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which practice by an insurer during the claims handling process is considered unethical? A. Investigating claims thoroughly to validate coverage. B. Denying claims based on policy exclusions. C. Delaying claim payments to review additional documentation. D. Providing clear explanations for claim denials to policyholders. C. Delaying claim payments to review additional documentation. Explanation. In Florida, insurers are expected to handle insurance claims promptly, fairly, and in good faith. Delays in claim payments without reasonable cause, such as reviewing additional documentation indefinitely, may unjustly burden policyholders, disrupt their financial planning, and potentially violate state regulations governing claims settlement practices. Insurers are required to conduct timely investigations, communicate effectively with policyholders, and adhere to established timelines for claims processing to ensure prompt and equitable resolution of claims under Florida state regulations. Upholding ethical standards in claims handling promotes transparency, consumer trust, and regulatory compliance within the insurance industry. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a practice that would be considered unethical during the insurance claims handling process in Florida. Question 96. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following scenarios would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowner's insurance policy? A. Damage caused by a burst pipe due to freezing temperatures. B. Theft of personal belongings while traveling abroad. C. Personal injury liability resulting from a slip and fall accident on the insured's property. D. Loss of jewelry due to accidental misplacement. D. Loss of jewelry due to accidental misplacement. Explanation. In Florida, standard homeowners insurance policies typically exclude coverage for losses resulting from accidental misplacement of personal belongings, including jewelry. Coverage may be available for specific perils such as fire, theft, vandalism, and certain types of water damage, depending on the policy terms and endorsements. Insureds should review policy exclusions and limitations to understand coverage provisions related to personal property losses under Florida state regulations. Understanding coverage exclusions helps homeowners assess their insurance needs, consider additional endorsements or riders for valuable items like jewelry, and mitigate financial risks associated with potential losses. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Florida. Question 97. Insurance contract formation. Under Florida state regulations, which element is essential for the formation of a valid insurance contract? A. Mutual assent between the insured and insurer. B. Payment of the policy premium by the insurer. C. Completion of a background check on the insured. D. Notarization of the insurance application. A mutual assent between the insured and insurer. Explanation. In Florida, mutual assent, also known as mutual consent or agreement between the insured and insurer, is essential for the formation of a valid insurance contract. Mutual assent signifies that both parties willingly enter into the contract, agree on the terms and conditions, and intend to be bound by the contractual obligations. Insurance contracts are based on the principle of offer and acceptance, where the insurer offers coverage under specific terms and the insured accepts by agreeing to pay premiums and comply with policy conditions. Understanding the requirement of mutual assent helps insureds and insurers in Florida establish legally enforceable insurance agreements, clarify policy terms, and uphold contractual obligations under state regulations. Therefore, option is correct as it identifies an essential element for the formation of a valid insurance contract in Florida. Question 98. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting homeowners insurance in Florida, which factor is typically evaluated to assess property risk? A. Number of residents in the household. B. Type of flooring used in the property. C. Distance to the nearest fire station. D. Estimated market value of the property. C. Distance to the nearest fire station. Explanation. In Florida, insurers typically evaluate the distance to the nearest fire station when underwriting homeowners insurance to assess property risk. Proximity to fire services influences response times in the event of a fire emergency, impacting insurers' risk assessment and premium calculations. Insurers consider fire protection capabilities, including accessibility to firefighting resources, hydrants, and emergency services, to determine insurance eligibility and coverage terms for homeowners. Understanding the significance of evaluating fire station proximity helps insurers in Florida mitigate fire-related risks, offer competitive insurance rates, and promote property safety and protection under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies a factor typically evaluated during the underwriting process for homeowners insurance in Florida. Question 99. Ethics and professional conduct. In Florida, which ethical responsibility do insurance agents owe to their clients? A. Providing biased advice favoring certain insurance companies. B. Disclosing conflicts of interest related to policy recommendations. C. Encouraging clients to purchase unnecessary insurance coverage. D. Charging excessive fees for insurance policy services. B. Disclosing conflicts of interest related to policy recommendations. Explanation. In Florida, insurance agents have an ethical responsibility to disclose conflicts of interest related to policy recommendations to their clients. Agents must act in the best interests of their clients, provide unbiased advice, and disclose any financial interests or incentives that may influence their recommendations. By disclosing conflicts of interest, agents maintain transparency, uphold client trust, and comply with ethical standards governing professional conduct in the insurance industry. Understanding ethical responsibilities helps insurance agents in Florida foster positive client relationships, promote consumer confidence, and demonstrate integrity in their business practices under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies an ethical responsibility owed by insurance agents to their clients in Florida. Question 100. Workers' compensation insurance. Under Florida state regulations, which entity typically administers the workers' compensation system? A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. B. Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, ER. C. Florida Department of Financial Regulation, FDFR. D. Florida Division of Workers' Compensation. D. Florida Division of Workers' Compensation. Explanation. In Florida, the workers' compensation system is typically administered by the Florida Division of Workers' Compensation. The DWC oversees the implementation and enforcement of workers' compensation laws, ensures compliance with regulatory requirements, and facilitates the resolution of disputes related to workers' compensation claims. Employers in Florida are required to provide workers' compensation insurance coverage to protect employees against work-related injuries and occupational illnesses, administered under the supervision of the DWC to promote workplace safety, employee protection, and fair compensation practices under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies the entity responsible for administering the workers' compensation system in Florida. Question 101. Insurance industry trends. In Florida, which emerging risk factor is influencing property insurance underwriting decisions? A. Technological advancements in building materials. B. Economic fluctuations in the housing market. C. Changes in state regulatory requirements. D. Environmental impacts of climate change. D. Environmental impacts of climate change. Explanation. In Florida, the environmental impacts of climate change, such as increased frequency of hurricanes, flooding, and sea level rise, are influencing property insurance underwriting decisions. Insurers assess the potential risks associated with climate-related events when underwriting property insurance policies to determine exposure levels, coverage limits, and premium rates. Understanding the influence of climate change on property insurance underwriting helps insurers in Florida adapt risk management strategies, implement mitigation measures, and maintain financial stability amid evolving environmental challenges under state regulations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies an emerging risk factor influencing property insurance underwriting decisions in Florida. Question 102. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy? A. Windstorm damage caused by a hurricane. B. Theft of personal belongings from a hotel room. C. Personal injury liability resulting from a dog bite. D. Structural damage due to a faulty construction. D. Structural damage due to faulty construction. Explanation. In Florida, standard homeowners insurance policies typically exclude coverage for structural damage due to faulty construction or maintenance issues. Insurance coverage may apply to losses caused by sudden and accidental events, such as hurricanes or theft, but excludes damages arising from inherent defects in construction materials, design flaws, or improper maintenance practices. Insureds should review policy exclusions and consider additional coverage options to address specific risks related to structural integrity under Florida state regulations. Understanding coverage exclusions helps homeowners assess their insurance needs, mitigate potential gaps in coverage, and protect their property investments against unforeseen risks. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Florida. Question 103. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, what is the purpose of insuring agreements in an insurance policy? A. To define the insured's responsibilities after a loss. B. To outline the insurer's obligations to investigate claims. C. To specify the perils covered under the insurance policy. D. To establish premium payment schedules. C. To specify the perils covered under the insurance policy. Explanation. In Florida, insuring agreements in an insurance policy serve the purpose of specifying the perils covered under the insurance contract. The insuring agreement outlines the scope of coverage provided by the insurer, including the types of risks or events for which the insured is protected. Understanding the insuring agreements helps insureds in Florida assess their insurance needs, verify coverage provisions, and make informed decisions regarding policy options under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the purpose of insuring agreements in an insurance policy under Florida state regulations. Question 104. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, which factor is typically evaluated to assess property risk? A. Occupancy type and tenant turnover rates. B. Property manager's experience in risk management. C. Proximity to recreational facilities. D. Historical weather patterns in the area. Answer A. Occupancy type and tenant turnover rates. Explanation. In Florida, insurers typically evaluate the occupancy type and tenant turnover rates when underwriting commercial property insurance to assess property risk. Occupancy type refers to the nature of business operations conducted on the property, influencing exposure to specific risks and potential liability scenarios. Tenant turnover rates indicate the frequency of tenant changes affecting property management practices and risk mitigation strategies. Insurers consider these factors to determine insurance eligibility, coverage terms, and premium rates for commercial property owners in Florida under state regulations. Therefore, option is correct as it identifies a factor typically evaluated during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 105. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, which practice by an insurer during the claims handling process is considered unethical, they conducting thorough investigations to verify claim validity. B. Offering settlement options to expedite claims processing. C. Denying claims based on policy exclusions. D. Delaying claim payments without justification. Answer: D. Delaying claim payments without justification. Explanation: in Florida, insurers are expected to handle insurance claims promptly, fairly, and in good faith. Unjustified delays in claim payments, such as withholding funds without reasonable cause or extending investigation timelines indefinitely, may impose financial hardships on policyholders and violate state regulations governing claims settlement practices. Insurers are required to communicate effectively, process claims expeditiously, and comply with statutory timelines to ensure fair treatment of policyholders and uphold ethical standards in claims handling under Florida state regulations. Upholding prompt claims processing practices promotes consumer trust, regulatory compliance, and efficient resolution of insurance claims. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies a practice that would be considered unethical during the insurance claims handling process in Florida. Question 106. Policy provisions and endorsements. Under Florida state regulations, which statement about insurance policy endorsements is correct? A. Endorsements can only reduce coverage, not enhance it. B. Insurers are not required to disclose the effect of endorsements to policyholders. C. Endorsements are standardized across all insurance policies. D. Policyholders can use endorsements to customize coverage to their specific needs. Answer: D. Policyholders can use endorsements to customize coverage to their specific needs. Explanation: in Florida, insurance policy endorsements allow policyholders to modify or customize their coverage to meet specific needs or circumstances. Endorsements can add, modify, or remove coverage provisions beyond what is provided in the standard policy terms. Policyholders can use endorsements to enhance coverage for additional risks, adjust coverage limits, or address unique insurance requirements, thereby tailoring their insurance protection under state regulations. Understanding the flexibility and purpose of endorsements helps policyholders in Florida optimize their insurance coverage, mitigate risks effectively, and comply with contractual obligations. Therefore, option D is correct as it identifies the purpose and use of endorsements in insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 107. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting liability insurance in Florida, which factor is typically considered to assess risk? A. Property value of the insured premises. B. Type and frequency of previous insurance claims. C. Age and marital status of the insured. D. Distance to the nearest police station. Answer: B. Type and frequency of previous insurance claims. Explanation: in Florida, insurers typically consider the type and frequency of previous insurance claims when underwriting liability insurance to assess risk. The claims history provides insights into the insured's risk profile, potential liabilities, and likelihood of future claims, influencing underwriting decisions regarding coverage eligibility, premium rates, and risk management strategies. Insurers analyze claim trends, severity of past incidents, and mitigation efforts to evaluate risk exposure and determine appropriate coverage terms for liability insurance policies under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a factor typically considered during the underwriting process for liability insurance in Florida. Question 108. Ethics and professional conduct. In Florida, what ethical obligation do insurance agents owe to insureds during policy renewal? A. Disclosing the agent's commission structure. B. Advising insureds to switch to a different insurance company. C. Providing accurate and timely renewal notices. D. Recommending additional coverage without client consent. Answer: C. Providing accurate and timely renewal notices. Explanation: in Florida, insurance agents have an ethical obligation to provide insureds with accurate and timely renewal notices before their insurance policies expire. Renewal notices inform insureds about policy terms, premium changes, coverage updates, and renewal options, enabling them to make informed decisions regarding their insurance coverage. Agents must ensure transparency, communicate renewal terms clearly, and assist insureds in reviewing their insurance needs to maintain adequate coverage under state regulations. Upholding ethical standards in policy renewal processes promotes client satisfaction, regulatory compliance, and effective risk management practices within the insurance industry. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies an ethical obligation owed by insurance agents to insureds during policy renewal in Florida. Question 109. Insurance claims handling. In Florida, what is the purpose of subrogation in insurance claims? To determine the extent of coverage under the insurance policy. B. To investigate the cause of loss or damage. C. To recover claim payments from third parties responsible for the loss. D. To negotiate settlement amounts with the insured. Answer: C. To recover claim payments from third parties responsible for the loss. Explanation: in Florida, subrogation in insurance claims refers to the insurer's right to recover claim payments made to the insured from third parties who are legally responsible for causing the loss or damage. The purpose of subrogation is to enable insurers to pursue reimbursement for claim costs, including property repairs, medical expenses, or other covered losses from negligent parties or entities at fault. Subrogation helps insurers in Florida recover financial losses incurred due to claim payments, promote equitable distribution of liability, and preserve financial resources for future claims settlement obligations under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the purpose of subrogation in insurance claims handling under Florida state regulations. Question 110. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following would likely be covered under a personal auto insurance policy? A. Damage to the insured vehicle caused by wear and tear. B. Bodily injury liability resulting from a car accident. C. Theft of personal belongings from the insured vehicle. D. Loss of income due to temporary vehicle breakdown. Answer: B. Bodily injury liability resulting from a car accident. Explanation: in Florida, personal auto insurance policies typically provide coverage for bodily injury liability resulting from a car accident. Bodily injury liability coverage compensates for medical expenses, lost wages, and legal fees incurred by third parties injured in accidents caused by the insured's vehicle. Understanding coverage provisions helps insureds in Florida comply with state financial responsibility requirements, protect against potential legal liabilities, and maintain adequate insurance coverage for personal vehicles under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be covered under a personal auto insurance policy in Florida. Question 111. Insurance industry trends. In Florida, which technological advancement is influencing insurance underwriting practices? A. Adoption of blockchain technology for policy management. B. Use of drones for property inspection and claims assessment. C. Implementation of artificial intelligence for claims processing. D. Development of virtual reality for customer service interactions. Answer: B. Use of drones for property inspection and claims assessment. Explanation: in Florida, the use of drones for property inspection and claims assessment is influencing insurance underwriting practices by enhancing efficiency, accuracy, and cost-effectiveness in risk assessment processes. Drones enable insurers to conduct aerial surveys, assess property conditions, and evaluate potential risks without physical access to challenging or hazardous locations. By leveraging drone technology, insurers in Florida improve underwriting decision-making, mitigate operational risks, and expedite claims processing timelines under state regulations. Understanding technological advancement supports insurers in adopting innovative solutions, optimizing workflow efficiencies, and maintaining competitive advantages in the insurance marketplace. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the technological advancement influencing insurance underwriting practices in Florida. Question 112. Insurance contract formation. Under Florida state regulations, what is required for an insurance contract to be legally binding? A. Mutual assent and a written contract signed by the insured. B. Payment of the initial premium by the insured. C. Notarization of the insurance application. D. Approval by the Florida Department of Financial Services. Answer: A. Mutual assent and a written contract signed by the insured. Explanation: in Florida, for an insurance contract to be legally binding, mutual assent agreement between the insured and insurer is essential. This agreement is typically evidenced by a written contract, such as an insurance policy, that outlines the terms and conditions of coverage. The insured's signature on the policy signifies acceptance of the insurer's offer to provide insurance protection, including coverage limits, exclusions, and policy provisions. Understanding the requirement of mutual assent and a signed written contract helps insureds in Florida establish enforceable insurance agreements, clarify coverage terms, and comply with statutory requirements under state regulations. Therefore, option A is correct, as it identifies the requirements for an insurance contract to be legally binding in Florida. Question 113. Casualty insurance basics. In Florida, which type of casualty insurance policy typically covers legal expenses resulting from lawsuits against the insured? A. Auto liability insurance. B. Homeowners insurance. C. Umbrella liability insurance. D. Workers' compensation insurance. Answer: C. Umbrella liability insurance. Explanation: in Florida, umbrella liability insurance policies typically cover legal expenses resulting from lawsuits against the insured that exceed the limits of primary liability coverage provided by auto, homeowners, or other primary insurance policies. Umbrella policies offer additional liability protection beyond the underlying coverage, helping insureds in Florida safeguard personal assets, mitigate financial risks, and maintain comprehensive insurance protection against potential legal liabilities under state regulations. Understanding the scope and benefits of umbrella liability insurance policies assists insureds in Florida in managing liability risks effectively and ensuring adequate coverage for unforeseen legal expenses. Therefore, option C is correct, as it identifies the type of casualty insurance policy that covers legal expenses resulting from lawsuits against the insured in Florida. Question 114. Policy interpretation and analysis. Under Florida state regulations, how do courts interpret ambiguous terms in insurance policies? A. Based on the insurer's interpretation of policy provisions. B. Using the insured's subjective understanding of coverage. C. According to the legislative intent behind insurance laws. D. By referring to industry standard practices among insurers. Answer: C. According to the legislative intent behind insurance laws. Explanation: in Florida, when interpreting ambiguous terms in insurance policies, courts typically consider the legislative intent behind insurance laws and regulations. Legislative intent refers to the purpose and objectives of statutory provisions enacted by the state legislature to regulate insurance practices, protect consumers, and ensure fairness in insurance transactions. Courts interpret ambiguous policy terms in a manner consistent with legislative intent to promote adherence to statutory requirements, uphold public policy goals, and facilitate equitable outcomes in insurance disputes under state regulations. Understanding the role of legislative intent in policy interpretation helps insureds, insurers, and legal professionals in Florida navigate insurance contract disputes and ensure compliance with regulatory standards. Therefore, option C is correct, as it identifies how courts interpret ambiguous terms in insurance policies under Florida state regulations. Question 115. Coverage and exclusions. Under Florida state regulations, which of the following is typically excluded from coverage under a standard homeowner's insurance policy? A. Theft of personal belongings from a vehicle. B. Damage to the insured property caused by a lightning strike. C. Liability for injuries sustained by a guest on the insured's property. D. Loss of rental income due to tenant default. Answer: A. Theft of personal belongings from a vehicle. Explanation: in Florida, standard homeowners insurance policies typically exclude coverage for theft of personal belongings from a vehicle. Coverage for theft is generally limited to personal property stolen from the insured premises, such as the home or detached structures, rather than from a vehicle. Insureds may consider purchasing additional coverage options, such as comprehensive auto insurance, to protect against theft of personal belongings from vehicles under state regulations. Understanding coverage exclusions helps insureds in Florida assess their insurance needs, mitigate potential gaps in coverage, and safeguard personal property against specified risks. Therefore, option is correct as it identifies a scenario that would likely be excluded from coverage under a standard homeowners insurance policy in Florida. Question 116. Insurance underwriting. When underwriting commercial property insurance in Florida, which factor is typically evaluated to assess property risk? A. Age and marital status of the property owner. B. Presence of security alarms and surveillance systems. C. Proximity to shopping malls and retail centers. D. Historical performance of the property and rental markets. B. Presence of security alarms and surveillance systems. Explanation. In Florida, insurers typically evaluate the presence of security alarms and surveillance systems when underwriting commercial property insurance to assess property risk. Security measures, such as alarms, cameras, and monitoring systems, help deter theft, vandalism, and unauthorized access, reducing property-related risks and potential insurance claims. Insurers consider these factors to determine insurance eligibility, coverage terms, and premium rates for commercial property owners in Florida, emphasizing risk mitigation and property protection under state regulations. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies a factor typically evaluated during the underwriting process for commercial property insurance in Florida. Question 117. State insurance laws and regulations. In Florida, which entity regulates insurance rates to ensure fairness and affordability for consumers? A. Florida Department of Financial Services, FDFS. B. Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, WA. C. Florida Division of Insurance Fraud, DIF. D. Florida Insurance Guarantee Association, FIGA. Answer. B. Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, WA. Explanation. In Florida, the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, WA, regulates insurance rates to ensure fairness, affordability, and transparency for consumers. The OIR oversees insurance companies operating in Florida, reviews rate filings, and evaluates proposed rate adjustments to ensure compliance with state insurance laws and regulations. Regulating insurance rates helps protect consumers from excessive premiums, promotes market stability, and fosters competitive pricing among insurers in Florida under regulatory oversight. Understanding the role of the OIR in rate regulation assists consumers, insurers, and industry professionals in navigating insurance marketplace dynamics and complying with statutory requirements. Therefore, option B is correct as it identifies the entity responsible for regulating insurance rates to ensure fairness and affordability for consumers in Florida. Question 118. Insurance policy analysis. Under Florida state regulations, what role does the declarations page play in an insurance policy? A. It provides a summary of policyholder responsibilities. B. It outlines the insurer's obligations to investigate claims. C. It specifies the types and limits of coverage provided. D. It establishes premium payment schedules. Answer. C. It specifies the types and limits of coverage provided. Explanation. In Florida, the declarations page in an insurance policy serves the purpose of specifying the types and limits of coverage provided under the policy. This includes details such as policyholder information, insured property or liability limits, deductible amounts, and other essential terms relevant to the insurance coverage. The declarations page helps insureds in Florida understand their insurance benefits, verify coverage provisions, and comply with contractual obligations under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the role of the declarations page in an insurance policy under Florida state regulations. Question 119. Underwriting considerations. When underwriting homeowners insurance in Florida, which factor is typically evaluated to assess property risk? A. Property location in relation to fire hydrants. B. Age and health status of the insured. C. Number of vehicles owned by the insured. D. Frequency of vacations taken by the insured. Answer A. Property location in relation to fire hydrants. Explanation. In Florida, insurers typically evaluate the property location in relation to fire hydrants when underwriting homeowners insurance to assess property risk. Proximity to fire hydrants influences emergency response times and accessibility for firefighting services in the event of a fire or other property-related emergencies. Insurers consider these factors to determine insurance eligibility, coverage terms, and premium rates for homeowners in Florida, emphasizing fire protection measures and property safety under state regulations. Therefore, option A is correct as it identifies a factor typically evaluated during the underwriting process for homeowners insurance in Florida. Question 120. Insurance claims handling in Florida. What does the principle of indemnity aim to achieve in insurance claims? A. To provide financial compensation for policyholders. B. To prevent fraudulent claims by insureds. C. To restore policyholders to their pre-loss financial position. D. To expedite the claims settlement process. Answer: C. To restore policyholders to their pre-loss financial position. Explanation: in Florida, the principle of indemnity in insurance claims aims to restore policyholders to their pre-loss financial position following covered losses or damages. This principle ensures that insureds receive compensation for actual financial losses incurred, excluding any gains or profits beyond the initial financial position prior to the loss event. Insurers in Florida apply the principle of indemnity to promote fairness, accuracy, and equitable claims settlements, emphasizing the importance of financial restitution and risk management in insurance transactions under state regulations. Therefore, option C is correct as it identifies the objective of the principle of indemnity in insurance claims handling in Florida.